9 degrees above freezing.
It's okay, you can continue.
Hello, Ray.
Hi.
Good morning.
Good morning. How is everyone?
Good. Have more energy today. I love my
Ex-
beautiful water.
Excited thinking of
Yes.
water.
All right, that's good.
I'm not kidding. My glass is ready, by the way, for later. It looks delicious. I can't wait.
Well, it will be quicker. It will be like in 2 hours. We just have an hour for Ho'oponopono, and let me see exactly my plan. Yeah, it won't be an issue. Do you guys have a little bit of energy to do the first couple of exercises of Falun Dafa? Yeah.
Oh,
Okay. So
I have
Yes.
everybody
a
please
question
get up.
real quick. Hey, Ray. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have like a video of all the Falun Dafa stuff?
Yeah, you guys have it. It's in your
Yeah.
document.
Okay. Is it where is that?
I think it should be under day 3. The day that I told you guys about it, it's probably in the homework.
Okay.
It is.
Matt.
It is there,
Okay.
Matt.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's good. I just want to know because I usually you go and do these things and I'm totally mentally not stinking there.
Mhm.
So I'm barely moving and following along and I'm going, well, I really want these things, but homeboy's killing me here.
Why? And the first time we did it, you were like, wow, I actually felt something in the third
Well,
exercise.
You understand, I felt something, but I still didn't want to do them.
I know.
I was feeling it
Just
so
the
much.
first 2. I know, without going down and moving and stuff. We'll do the first 2, and tomorrow you'll have a little bit more energy. And if you guys want, I can teach you the 4th exercise.
Okay.
So if you have strength, please stand with me. So, like we said, the initial position is when our thumbs are slightly touching, our hands are on top of each other, our armpits are slightly open, our knees are slightly bent, so we're kind of like springy, and our legs are in the same width as our shoulders. Now, as we do this, when we reach out and stretch, we lock our knees and we visualize that our head is stretched towards the heavens and legs towards the ground. And then we hold our breath for a couple of seconds and release. So we begin by moving up our auric field. We flip and stretch. Release. Now we create a ball of energy. The left hand will be on top, 45-degree angle. We stretch and release. Next, the right hand is on top, 45-degree angle. We stretch and release. 2 hands to the sides of the body. We stretch and release. 2 hands in front of the body. Stretch, hold your breath, tongue on top of the palate, and release. 2 hands to the sides of the body. Release. 2 hands behind the back. Release. Pushing an invisible wall. Release. And the next 2 cycles we'll do in silence and try to see if you can visualize that you're bringing in more energy to the body. And from here, we move to the second exercise. First time, we're just holding this position for 3 breaths. And second position, just in front of our belly. And the third position, the ballerina position. And last position, our hands are in 90 degrees. And from here, we'll go down to the Dafa, because we're not doing the third exercise today, and we're going to give it a big whirl, circular formation. And then we move our hands on top of each other and we take 3 deep breaths. All right, so I would love to hear about if anybody's feeling any different today in the morning, if you had like this epiphany. How was the cuckoo list when you read it out, Matt? I love Matt. He's such a good student. He always likes to share.
Well, it's also about getting stuff out of the way and making it happen, man. That's that's a tendency. So yeah, I'm gonna totally take water today. Whether it was an epiphany or not, I told some of the people in the group already, was my tendency is to go for the gusto and do the extreme thing, and I can and I've done that a lot throughout my life, where I'll just go all the way on this thing, and it's the mentality that if I do this big whatever thing, that'll heal things or make things all better, and da 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 da. And I know that there's a trend there, but the life that I'm building requires consistency and no extreme bullcrap. You don't make money trading by any one move. It's consistently meticulous moves all the time that are statistically on par. And so I decided to go along with that mentality, and just do steady plotting. And so drinking today and then continuing to water fast for a while, and go from there. So that was my epiphany.
All right. Yannick?
I want to say, in response to what Matt just said, is that secretly for the last day or so, I was really hoping he would come back on his decision and drink water with us today. And the reason I say that is because I have tried this process before, and I have gone for about 6 weeks without food. And I realized that if you go without food for 6 weeks, trust me, man, you're going to be cleansed. It will happen inevitably. And I feel that stretching it to 4 or 5 days, especially if this is the first time you've ever done a dry fast, you're going at war with yourself. So I'm very, very pleased to hear that you will be joining us today in the water ceremony. Thank you.
All right. Jane?
Ray, is that correct? That if we choose to do the water today, that there's really not a significant difference if we postpone it a day or two?
Yes, that's correct.
Oh, okay. All right. Thanks, Yannick.
It's interesting in the beginning, Ray said, just go in and check with yourself of what you can do, what the number was. And I got 5, but I also listen to my body on a regular basis. And I do like a muscle testing thing. And when I started, I think it was day 2, it wasn't yesterday, but day 2, I asked my body what it wanted. And it said the 3 days. You know, did not want to do 4, did not want to do 5. And I always go with what my body says. And I've never been led wrong in any decision that I've ever made when I trust my body implicitly that we're working in unison together. And my body said, ended at this point. So it was interesting that my head said one thing, and my body said, no, I don't want to do that. So I go with that.
All right.
I agree with
yeah.
with Bobby. I do the same sort of thing. If it involves my body, I ask my body, but I also ask my divine source. And it seems now they agree. Like last October, I told my body, I said, I want to do the breatharian thing in 2023. So I'm going to spend the next 2 years cleansing. And, I asked my body if that was okay. And it was like, oh yeah, bang on, which was a surprise to me. I thought, oh, it's going to freak out. It isn't. You ate food all its life, And so that was a nice surprise. So I started doing lots of the water flushes and coffee enemas. And then the raw week before our process, I did water flushes every day and followed it up with a coffee enema. And that seemed to be pretty good for me. I know that I need to help my liver. And so then when you said, okay, at the beginning of this, you said, decide how many days you're going to do on this dry fast. So I did that process. I checked in with my higher guidance, my higher self, whatever you want to call it, divine presence, I call it, and my body. And it said the 4 days. So that settled it for me. And what was I going to say after this? I thought I was going to say something, but oh, today. So today, excitement. I got up, I did various meditations things. I went outside, watched the sunrise on the hill, and did some exercises outside, which I don't normally do, but it was a beautiful morning, and came up with a few new exercises to just do some stretching and movement with my body that I don't normally do. And so that felt good. One was a hula hoop move and a side to side, the hips side to side. And that felt good with my hips and my lower back and all that kind of stuff. Some twists, just like that, just gentle stuff. I did my 5 rights of also, and then I waited to do the the
Falun
Falun
Dafa.
Dafa this morning with you. So, and I did my own exercises, just what I call my warm-up exercises in the morning. So
You look like you have
feel
much
great.
more energy than you did yesterday.
yes, and I do have more energy and I feel more positive now. I don't know if that's because I'm excited to drink water and just like, hey, you know. And
Who else here feels like he has more energy from this morning?
yes, yes. Thank you.
Do you think it's psychological?
Yes, a lot of it. But yes, a lot of it.
Okay. You guys are going to have more and more energy every day that's coming until you're exactly in the same energy level as you were before, just without the food. Now, it might take a couple of weeks. It won't take a couple of months, but you will see that slowly you will be asking yourself, why the hell did I need 3 meals a day?
Yeah.
And if I can like live off of this. And because again, the engine is more clean now. So it's easier for it to create energy. And from that apple that we said that we only use this much, then now you don't have to have the apple. You just take that this much, and the body knows how to use much more. You know, it's just getting used to it, getting the body used to it, getting the belief used to it, and you will see. You will see. Usually, people after the 3rd day, even though they're not drinking, they have like a slight change, like the body went through something after the 72nd hour.
Mhm.
Who here did not read out loud his cuckoo list? Christina, you have to do it. Don't forget, it's a part of the process. Like,
Oh, I didn't do it either. I was
Yeah.
wondering, I thought we were going to do it in our sharing or something.
no, I said everyone to
I didn't
himself
want to do
before
that.
you go to sleep. Just before.
I wrote it down yesterday. I was all prepared. It's like, I don't want to do it.
Okay, it's up
Excuse
to
me,
you.
just before we change the topic, I wanted to comment something. Actually, Jasmuhin, the creator of the 21 process, she actually says that the 21-day process is very harsh for the body. So she now recommends the gradual process. So I don't know if we can reach or attain the same results with 3 days and a half of dry fast. I don't see how to do why to do more days. It's just a matter of ego or something like that. But just my point of view.
Jasmine recommends a few years of gradually decreasing, and that's something that most people won't do today, because this is the time where everybody wants everything very, very quick, and they're willing to sacrifice, you know, and have it a little bit more difficult. That's the last time. But ever since the group processes started happening with Akai and with me and other people, like there's a Swiss guy, I think, then they recommend much more. We see that it's much easier to do it in a group, and you don't have to do, imagine that I did 21 days, but 7 days by myself dry fasting. So it's 3 weeks in silence, and 7 days of those, like just in the beginning, are complete dry fast. So whatever it is that you're experiencing now with the dry throat and with the tongue and with this type of like heaviness and with some cool thoughts that are coming to be recognized and healed. So all of this, 7 days instead of 3.5 days with no content. So it was much more difficult. That's why we stopped doing that. It's difficult on the body and it's difficult on the mind as well.
Yeah, but Matt wanted to do 10 dry fast days. So
I know. It's okay.
If you can attain the same results in 3
Eric,
days and a
trust me
half, why
when I
should
tell
do more
you, I
days?
know the statistics of people who begin by wanting and finish by doing something a little bit different. Everybody kind of changes their mind, or most of them. So,
You know, I don't know if anybody here has read the Life and Teachings of the Masters of the Far East.
Mhm.
Wonderful. They're a set of books that I would take with me if I was stranded on a desert island. So the monks in there, they don't eat. But when they go, let's say on a long trip or something like that, they take a grain of rice or whatever, just something like that. And it's just the essence of it. And I found when we did our juice fast, I didn't have a juicer. So I just cut up a bunch of fruit and threw it in a jug of water. And it's like the essence of those fruit, the messages, the frequencies of those fruit go into the water. And water is a carrier of messages and frequencies. So And water is cleansing. So I just love my beautiful water because it's going to help cleanse the body and give it the messages and deliver the messages throughout the body. And of course that I put into it through my mental focus and breath work and all those energies. Basically, I'm water and I'm programming my water from the frequencies and energies that I'm generating. To me, that's what I'm doing.
Completely agree. Sorry?
Hi, morning everyone. Epiphanies, the last few days have been, I've had a lot of pain in the body. I've had an old injury resurface and yeah, it's been quite intense. And I've looked into that pain as a way of processing stuff backwards in my past, looking at the event that caused the injury, but also the pattern that caused that injury and further back. And it's been an opportunity. There's been curiosity given, even though there was panic inside of a crescendo or rising pain, there was a curiosity and a curiosity to explore what the message was. So I've woken up today. I actually slept for the first time in 24 hours. I've had a couple of hours sleep, which is so good. I've woken up without pain and I've got a hot water bottle on my body right now. But I'm feeling this rising commitment to listen to my body's intelligence, which is an echo of what everyone has been talking about today.
Mhm.
And to heal, even though I don't feel any more pain at the moment, to actually continue to do the work on this area and to heal that and all the other injuries and traumas that I have in my body. So to actually listen to my body's intelligence. And I think that interesting video of Matt Khan's kind of locked in a few things too, which is this: I've often used my will to push my body to its extremes and do some pretty crazy stuff, and not actually do it with all the time, but in a slight resistance. So that's my beautiful epiphany today as I've just woken up.
Mhm. Okay.
All right. Who wants to tell me what forgiveness is for them?
Oh.
Bobby?
It's interesting because I have asked that question of many people and they say, oh, forgiveness. The Bible says forgiveness, but they don't know what it means. And as I understand it is, forgiveness is me letting go of the hold it has on me. That's how I understand it.
That's the best explanation I've ever heard about forgiveness. And people seem to think that if you forgive, you forget. I can forgive some of the worst transgressions, but I don't forget. And I don't keep putting myself in that situation. I move on. It's like, just, yeah.
Right.
I don't go back and revisit. I don't go back and they're not my friend anymore. Because I know they haven't changed. Right? Or whatever.
Matt?
I love that. Can you say that again, Bobby?
Okay. As I said, it's interesting what people look at it, but how I have come to learn what forgiveness means is me letting go of the hold it has on me.
Yeah,
I think we can forgive in one day, but to gain the trust and the confidence again, that takes more time.
Yeah.
Matt?
Okay. Well, okay. And this is like a big thing within the Christian community about the whole forgive thing. Oh, you have to forgive or you won't be forgiven. And so they sell this idea, and I always wrestled with it. It was the whole idea that that sucker totally swindled me and robbed me blind. I've got an issue with this, okay? Like that I'm wrestling with how I should do it because I have a son who actually took like $60,000 from me, okay? It was mine, and somehow he found a way to get it, okay, to where they gave it to him instead of me, okay? So I'm in that situation. Anyway, so the whole forgiveness thing. There's a difference between forgiveness and reconciliation, okay? And Bobby did it great. You know, is the idea of is like I can forgive. I have this wonderful memory. It's awesome and it's short. So it allows me to not carry grudges. Okay. But it's also, I don't necessarily forget. So the idea of forgiveness in my understanding would be that to where it doesn't, I can forgive that somebody has done something, or it's always there for them if they want it, okay, so to speak. But as far as it holding me, it's the forgiveness is really for me. The reconciliation, now that's a totally different game. Just because, okay, my wife went and had an affair and she comes up to me later on, will you forgive me? Yes, just as long as you're not in my house. You know, that's where I'm at. You know, it's like there's a difference between forgiveness and reconciliation. So that's my 2 cents.
Okay, so how do we know that we truly forgave in that case?
There shouldn't be an emotional thing attached to it.
Yeah, there's no charge. No charge.
You just don't want to see them again.
Because you don't feel bad desires toward the other person.
If
maybe you have to gain the confidence again, and she has or he has to gain it, but you don't have any negative feelings toward the other person, and in that way I know that I have forgiven.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can want. Oh, I'm sorry, Jane. I apologize.
It's okay. Go ahead, finish.
It's just real quick. You can want good and wonderful things for that person. You know, like the guy said, that guy in the video, they may have to work out their crap. Okay, that doesn't mean you got to hang out with them while they work out their crap. That's their deal. This is your deal. So how do you know if you've forgiven them? I mean, if you don't have an emotional connection to what's going on, and and your forgiveness is there, then you're probably good if you don't have an emotional connection to it. But if you know that person does these things, that's what they do, or they're not a fully repentant person, then then that may be their tendency to do that again. And generally speaking, I don't hang with people like that. So I'm not, I can intellectually say, well, they did this before. I don't have an emotional thing there, but I'm still not hanging with you, dude.
So it's the fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me attitude, yeah?
To some extent,
we give them one chance, and afterwards we say, I don't believe you the second time.
Well, I don't know. I might give them more than that. If it depends on the person. I mean, if you come and say to me, I've had this, somebody totally stabbed me in the back with my kids and everything like that. I cut them the stink off, never saw them. Then my cousin comes to me out of the blue because she did it without proper information. Okay, she sided with somebody because she didn't have information. She didn't ask the questions, but then she came to me out of the stinking blue and said, this is what I did. It was wrong. Will you forgive me? At that moment, I had a cousin again, because she acknowledged what she'd done. She was repentant for it. And so what the barrier between us, see, before I was looking at her as she's a villain and she could damage my family, and I'm protective. And then when she said, I'm not that, and this is why I did it, and it was wrong, it changed everything. At least that's the way I work. So I think that's healthy, at least.
Jane?
I think sorry, Jane, go for it.
Wait, go ahead. It's okay. I'll wait.
No,
She's
go.
constantly waiting.
So I want to add though a couple of things. For me, forgiveness is also letting go of the belief that someone did something to me for which I needed to blame them. So it's not just forgiving them, but it's forgiving the belief that they did anything wrong. Because even in Matt Kahn's video, he says, we all have our own process. So why should I judge someone for their own process? Because we all do what we can to the best of our ability with what we know at that very moment. So we don't know what possessed someone to do something, but it's their world, not ours. So for me, learning to forgive has been forgiving myself for thinking anybody has even done anything to me, because clearly there might have been something in my energy field that attracted it. And there's no reason to blame another, because it takes two people for that collision to occur as a negative event, whatever it may be. So I just want to say, for me, it's a little bit more inwardly than just externally.
I like that, Jane.
Yeah, I agree with that too. I always ask why I have attracted the situation. What is my soul asking me to learn in this situation? So that's looking at my responsibility in this situation.
I think I grew up thinking that forgiveness was a gift. I think it's perhaps a mainstream idea, at least in the culture I grew up in, that forgiveness is a gift that you give the other person. They've transgressed you, and you eventually give them the gift of forgiveness. And now I understand it, beginning to understand it, that it's just a gift that we give ourselves. And I'd love to echo what Jane was saying, that taking anyone's behavior as personal is self-centered in a way, because everyone's got their thing, everyone's got their process, and it feels like the step to acceptance and non-attachment to things is to not take anyone's behavior, even if it appears to be directed at me, even if they use my name in an expletive sentence, not really about me, or I can choose to not be triggered by it. I can take on the information and see if it's relevant, but I don't need to be loaded by it and wounded by it.
I've also learned to say thank you to the person who triggered me. Just say, I'm so grateful you showed me what I need to clear. And that really shifts the energy pretty quickly when that's what they've done. You know, they have given me the gift of recognizing something that I wasn't aware was there.
For me, I have a simple example. If a dog bites me when I take his tail, I can forgive the dog and I can behave well again, good with the dog. But I'm not gonna take his tail again, because I know that maybe he can bite me. So I don't know. It's like that.
I think there's another layer here around forgiveness of the self too. I have a question for you, Ray. Why have you brought this question up today at this moment?
Well, we're about to do an exercise, you know, just like a few of you said about the water that retains memory. And because we're already dry fasting for 3 days, and for some of us, it's going to be the last time that we're going to do this dry fast. This is a great time to get all that energy out just before we drink.
No me quieres salir.
And then the new water that is going to come up into the body, which is going to replenish and change, is going to be the water with our positive intention. But before that, we need to clear out the last remains and the things that are, just like you guys, if any of you did the treatments with Leslie, you've probably noticed what it feels like when there's something that is stuck in the body. You think that it's in the mind, but it's actually kind of stuck in the body. And then when you clear it from the body, then you actually clear it from the mind. And that's why I asked you, how do you know that you truly forgave? Because you said there's no emotional attachment. So just like Eric said, I won't let the dog bite me again, but I forgive the dog. I'm okay with the dog now, but I've learned my lesson, sort of. Well, I see it a little bit I see it closer to what James said, like it had to happen, and there's a lesson for me there. So I won't blame the person for being the conduit of that lesson, even though sometimes my ego wishes to blame, something external to me for happening, and for whatever reason, betrayal and confidence or financial and anything like that. So it has to be a lesson. And my question was, not why did you teach me that lesson? It's why did I need to learn that lesson? And like, I know that we had a soul contract, and I know like there's a story that I usually say about there's two souls that are in heaven just before they come down to earth. And one soul, best friends with the second soul, he says, you know something, in this lifetime, I would like to learn the most devilish of lessons. I would like to be, I don't know, a daughter to a beaten father, or molested, and that's the lesson I want. I already experienced most of human journeys, and I want to experience something that is profoundly negative so I can overcome it and see what I can make with myself. And the second soul, again, an angel, just like the first soul. Both are angels, amazing, perfect, in harmony. Says, you know something, in order for me to be able to help you, I have to become that abusive father. And I have to go into a life that I was abused myself. And I was hurt, and I was sad, and I was pissed, and I was angry, enough to blame it on my children and get it out without any control, using substance abuse and all this. And when you look at that and you say, these two amazing angels are sitting in heaven and designing their new life, and you're just one of them. You're just one of them. You're not aware that this is what you designed for yourself. And then you say, but this is my best friend. And look what it did to me. In order for me, because I asked for it in some way. I wanted to experience that, So that's like the soul level responsibility when somebody, I think, when somebody hurts you, when somebody does something bad to you, and you still blame them. And plus, like, when I visualize it, I kind of like see that there's a string attachment to them forever. As long as I'm hanging on to it, there's a string attached to that person between me and them, even if I forgave them. And that's why I'm like getting into, did I forgive them? When I ask you guys, is the one person that you think you need to go through a process of forgiveness, don't you have a name that has come up again and again and again? So there must be some sort of emotional, even the tiniest emotional attachment to that person. There's a tale about a student, a very young student, 9 years old, 3rd grade. And he came to his teacher and he said, I want to be happy like you are. You always come, you put a little sun and you give us smileys. And he said, teach me. So she told him, I want you to take a bag of potatoes, empty bag, for the coming weeks. But every time you blame someone, every time you feel bad, every time you argue, you get into a fight, I want you to take one potato and I want you to put it in the bag. But you have to take this bag with you everywhere. So the student said, that's it. I can do that. That's easy peasy. And then he came back after a couple of weeks with a heavy bag on his shoulder, and the potatoes were rotting, and they're stinky, and it's beginning to not only smell but to be like this liquidy, disgusting stuff that he's carrying around like a snail behind him. And he's like, oh man, this is so difficult. Why did you tell me to do that? And she said, you see, every time we hurt somebody, every time somebody hurts us, we take that thing and we keep it inside of us and we hold on to it, and it becomes heavier and it burdens us. And this is the way that most people live their life. And I don't do that. I don't take the potato. I get rid of the potato. I make potato chips. So that's the grudgy part, the part that we're holding on to. And it's not them. That's the thing. It's not them. It was never them. It's our own mirror. You remember the egg? The story is that it's us. It's a different version of us, meeting us, teaching us a lesson that we wanted to be taught from both sides. So we are the perpetrator and we're the other side as well. So when you, again, it takes some time to practice this, of course. Like you get into a habit of it, because you see people in your life and you have contracts with them and you work with them, and life is complicated. It's a little bit more complicated. But then you go through this type of series and you say, you know something? Nothing here is them. Everything here is me. It's always been me. This whole world is my visualization, my type of dream, that I invite these events into my life so I can better understand me.
Mhm.
So before we do a little bit of the Ho'oponopono, I'd like to do an exercise with you guys. I just want you guys to close your eyes and put your right hand on your heart and put your left hand on top of your right hand. And you can just repeat after me. We're going to do a process of forgiveness, self-forgiveness. So repeat after me loud. I forgive myself.
I forgive myself.
Again, I want to hear you. I forgive myself
I forgive myself
for everything I might have done to myself,
For everything I might have done to myself,
for not being there for myself.
for not being there for myself.
I forgive myself
I forgive myself
for not loving myself enough,
for not loving myself enough,
for not being there in the times of need,
for not being there in the times of need,
for not taking myself seriously,
for not taking myself seriously,
for being over judgmental with myself.
for being over judgmental with myself.
I forgive myself.
I forgive myself.
Forgive myself.
I thank myself
I thank myself
for being there for me in times of need,
for being there for me in times of need,
for making the right decisions,
for making the right decisions,
for being the person I am today,
for being the person I am today,
for loving myself,
for loving myself,
for being patient with myself.
for being patient with myself.
I vow
I vow
to love myself,
to love myself,
to accept myself
to accept myself
as best as I can.
as best as I can.
I love me.
I love me.
Love me.
I love me.
I love
I
me.
love me.
Imperfectly perfect.
Imperfectly perfect.
Exactly where I'm supposed to be.
Exactly where I'm supposed to be.
Exactly how I'm supposed to be.
Exactly how I'm supposed to be.
Not in the pace that I think,
Not in the pace that I think,
Not in the pace I think,
but in the pace that I am.
but at
but
the
in
pace
the
I
pace
am.
I am.
I forgive myself.
I forgive myself.
Forgive myself.
I thank myself.
I thank
I
myself.
thank myself.
I love myself.
I love myself.
Love myself.
Amen.
Amen.
All right. Perfect. So the second exercise of forgiveness, before we do a little bit of Ho'oponopono, is I want everyone to tell me 2 short stories. The first names that come up, and I will begin, about something that I need, that I feel like needs to be handled in the forgiveness arena, you can say. Like stuff that happened to me that in some way, even though I know the story about the 2 angels, and even though I know everything is perfect, I still have a grudge, or I still, think about it occasionally when somebody talks about forgiveness. So I would say the first person I'd like to forgive is my stepfather. My stepfather was 29 years old when my mom met him. She was 38. You know, under 8 years, it's called, over 8 years is called grave digger. And under 8 years, it's called cradle snatcher. So my mom was a cradle snatcher with my stepfather, Peter, and he was young and handsome. And my mom was, you know, my father left there when he was very young because he found God, and he became an Orthodox Jew, one of those black and white. We call them the penguins, but you know, the ones with the hair and 8 more kids and stuff. And so my stepfather was very young. He didn't really know how to accept the fact that the woman that he's in love with has 2 more kids. And I was, I think I was 6 or 7, maybe 7, 8, I don't know. And I was looking for a father figure. You know, I was like, yeah, I never had a father, and it's really nice to have this beautiful, young, talented guy living with us for a while. He was an English speaker, and she was a Hebrew speaker, and I didn't really understand English too much back then. And I feel like he never really treated me. He treated my sister like his daughter. Like they were getting along quite fine. But I think he grew up in the 70s, and I think it was difficult for him. His father was difficult with him. Like he expected much of him. He started working when he was 12, never got allowance, always was independent. And even though it was like the 90s, which was a different era, I kind of got that hard type of education from him. And I realized retroactively that it's because he never had kids. And only later on, like 15 years later, he would have his daughter, which is my half sister. And then he would grow and understand what unconditional love is towards your kids. So he was very difficult with me. It wasn't only the expectations, the perfectionism, everything, like pretty much everything. A lot of hard chores, a lot of you know, not being able to really listen, high expectations. Yeah, so I'm going through a process of forgiveness with him for the last, I would say, 20 years maybe. It's better and better each time, every year. And still, he's one of the first names that come up. And yet, even when I ask myself which person would I take with me to a deserted island, you know, like the example we gave, he's one of these people that I would take to a deserted island. So I appreciate him and I love him. And as a kid, you know, I even adored him. He has a lot of things that people in Israel don't have. Very skilled craftsman, handyman, wise man. And until this day, when I think about him, it's like this competition that I have with myself. I'm trying to prove to myself or prove my worth in order to be identified as equal to my stepfather. And even though we never, you know, bring it up or talk about it, this is because I was hurt as a child and maybe felt more lonely. So every time I do that, I kind of like feel like that string of light, that I forgive him and I forgive myself. And I understand that it was something that I needed to go through in order to become the person that I am today. So that's number one. And number two is these bastards that cheated me like for $100,000 in a bad real estate deal, you know. And that was like 10 years ago, and I was very naive. I was following my guidance, and my guidance took me to them, and everything looked very good on paper. It was a project in Canada, like overseas, and I was very naive, and I was like, yeah, okay, it's a company. We have 600 investors. There's bank accounts, there's lawyers, there's accountants. Like I was very, very, very naive. And one day, you know, I see an article that this company was bankrupt. And it was only like a month and a half before, like after I invested in them. So I tried to call them, nobody answers. I tried to call the salesperson, nobody answers. I go to the offices, nobody's there. And then I start realizing that I've been like seriously orchestrated, cheated. And it was all of my money. It was everything I saved up in my entire life. And I thought, okay, let's play the real estate game. You know, let's go with the ones that are making it work. You know, don't do it by yourself. Be wise, don't be smart. So that was very, very difficult for me to accept. I never really realized until about 2 years after why it happened. It happened not because of letting go of material possession, which is one thing, but it happened because I wasn't dealing emotionally with the bad things that happened in my life. I was always dealing with them mentally. So even then, I didn't admit that I'm hurt, that I'm sad, that I'm pissed, because I was never much of an emotional person. All I did, I took a drop of LSD and went with my friends to the beach, and that's the way that I dealt with it back then. And that solved it for me for a while. And but today, when I look back at it and I think about it and I understand, I still get a little bit annoyed, and I can still see their faces. And again, it's a process of forgiveness that takes many, many years. Eventually, I understood that it's something that I had to learn, like everything else. But that's a mental understanding, not an emotional response. Like I'm teaching myself to always respond. So by telling you guys this, I'm going through another level of forgiveness with them and allowing myself to accept that I'm letting go of another part of that. Who would like to go next? Everyone will go. 2 stories, short stories.
Very short. So I'm going to give no surprise here. My mother, who's a very mean person, she's a narcissist, never says she's sorry because she's always right. She has animosity towards me since I was 12. I could feel it. The beginning part, she basically kind of ignored us. She was there, but there was no nurturing. In fact, she abandoned me in an orphanage when I was about 5. So she's from around 12, pretty much, well, as soon as I was pregnant with my son, which was, I wasn't married, and I was young, so I was about 18, she, told me all the things, reasons why I wouldn't be suitable and a good mother, and my life wasn't conducive to it. And, I was listening to my soul basically to have this child. I could have had an abortion. I have no problems with that. But anyway, so that was the start of how she also affected my son. And so from that point, every family meal, we would have a fight. When I lived with her for the past 2 years, about every day, she put me down. When I fell on the ice, hit the back of my head, the first thing that came out of her mouth was, "What a stupid thing to do." Who says that, to their child, their daughter, or anybody actually? And so every day she would find something to criticize me about. So, and then I also realized that she was in competition with me. It was a weird thing. Anyway, so when was it the last time last Sunday, I visited my family, my mother, and she was having a hard time. And my sister, the other person I want to forgive is my sister. So she's my older sister. I mean, she's older, not older than me, but I have another sister who I call my little sister. She's the youngest, from my stepdad. And so I could say that, the things that I've learned from my mom is to be independent. Certainly not to depend on her for support, for emotional support. Also, I'm trying to think of the positive things that have come of this, but I know that there has been positive things that have come from me. Abandoning me in an orphanage, that's where I started to become more self-reliant. And so and my sister was talking about things about my mother, the things that she said to me this past Sunday. And because my mom revisited an issue with us, that issue that I just told you about. And I didn't even want to go back there. I don't want to, I have no interest in going back and revisiting. But my sister, now she's told me on 3 occasions what a selfish person I am, how uncompassionate I am, how self-centered I am, blah, 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 insulting me. And I've tried not to insult her because she's steeped in victimhood energy. So she's had a lot of awful experiences in her life, from her husband. And so I don't want to, add to the pile that's already there on her. But there was that. And then there was, at the beginning of COVID, she completely went into Chicken Little, the sky's falling, into fear, admonishing me to take extra special care, to look after, my mom. And it's like, I'm not a party person. I'm not a social person. I don't go out visiting people. I mean, she was putting this energy on me because she thinks I'm selfish and all that sort of thing. I have a better sense of things that nurture me and things that I want to do. So I want to forgive her. So it was actually this whole working out who's going to look after my mom this week worked out, and I was able to speak to my sister and sort of give her moral support, for that I am supportive of her, that I'm glad that she was able to take this week off. I acknowledged her for the stress that she underwent with my mother, trying to find someone to look after her this week, and told her that she's doing a good job with my mom because she is the most compassionate one in the family, and that sort of thing. And that really kind of smoothed the energy between us. But I still don't want to hang around her, because she, even in that session, she went back to a painful situation that she had, where she was abused, by someone or something. And I just thought, I've heard that story so many times. And whenever there's you talk to me, you go back to some experience like that and relive it. So anyway, there we are. That's it.
Yeah, you can just go. Thank you for sharing. Matt?
Okay, well, the two are kind of in there. Well, anyway, let's just say, okay, the one that I'd mentioned before is the son. That keeps coming to my mind. I rehash these. I just when I moved to Oklahoma from Indiana, so we're talking to go visit is a 2,500 mile drive. So I just went to visit people because Sarah and I, my wife, we got married and we decided to take care of her dad because that just seemed like the most responsible thing to do, because my parents are taken care of and I have children in his vicinity. But anyway, this son he's carrying this burden, and I think it's like crap that his mother didn't deal with. Okay, his mother is the one that had 8 children with, and then she had an affair, got pregnant by the other dude, and eventually went off and married him and just left us. Okay, now so there I was, single with 8 children, and now I don't have any animosity towards her. Him taking her away was like cutting off gangrene. It's like, I like my right arm, but it's rotting, so cut that sucker off so I can have a life. And that's what, so I don't have that. But Nathaniel seems to have a similar, and I remember even when he was 16, we had this conversation because he was going through all this crazy rebellion, and I'm going, what is it that you're angry about? And he would say, I'm so angry with you, but I don't know why. Okay, we went through counseling and different things, trying to to draw it out, and him talking about his feelings is really difficult. And so we had this family shindig just recently, and he has a tendency to be condescending towards his sister. And normally I just, people do what they do, but it's the idea that it ruins their time there if he's griping and complaining or telling them how they ought to parent, or he just thinks he's God's gift to parenting, I think. He just doesn't know the crap he's doing because he can't see it. Yeah, and so I just said, well, some people it's easier for them. This is the extent of my correction to him, was some people it's easy for them to see other people's faults and weaknesses while they have a difficulty seeing their own. That's what I said to him. But that pissed him off because I got all my shit together and think I'm all whatever, da 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 da. And so he says something kind of obnoxious. And then I didn't want to leave it like that and crap like that. So they're about to leave and stepped outside. So I said, hey, about that interaction we had earlier. And I just wanted to, and all I was going to say was, I just want to open up the door to where we could talk to that and get to a better place. And he cut me off, and then he gets loud and says something about, if you wanted to worry about my wounds, you should have done it 20 years ago. And I thought that was kind of interesting. And he said, now it's too late. Okay. And so, well, that's not true, but it is for him, as long as he believes that that's true. Anyway, so this is the same son who years ago, he got bit by a dog. Okay. And the families who had the dog was totally irresponsible. This is like some psycho chick that was more concerned about her dog than my kid. I mean, I seriously wanted to pound her into the ground. She was so obnoxious about protecting her dog, it was eating my son. Okay, this dog is like 200 and some stitches. Anyway, and well, he got all sewed up, everything. There's all these medical bills. So those are my medical bills. We filed lawsuit, okay, because she even threatened us if we let them know where her dog was, because she didn't want any consequences to this. Anyway, so her insurance won't pay anything because she'd lied about the dog never having bitten somebody. And so they actually had to go after her. And so I'd totally forgotten about this thing. Hadn't heard anything for all these years. It was over a decade. And then all of a sudden they contact Nathaniel because they couldn't find me. And they're paying for that mess finally. Well, and then I say, well, okay, well, what's the phone number? And he goes, oh, no, they want to talk to me. And he works it out so that they pay him instead of paying me for all those damages. Okay. And you can say, well, he got bit and it hurt. Well, he's a little kid and it didn't damage him. And he wasn't out financially for anything. It was me, and it was our lawsuit. And it's one of those things, it's just money. But it's not. The fact is my own son did this conniving thing to kind of swindle me. And that's just like his mom. I mean, his mom robbed me blind as we were separating. I mean, forging checks and doing all this stuff, oh my goodness. And the woman to this day owes me like 40 grand. That's legally owes it, not even morally. I'm talking legally. Anyway, so I just see him doing the same crap his mother did while standing on a podium about my poor parenting way back then, which, and quite frankly, if he and I were to actually have a civil conversation about such things, he and I would agree that the 20-year-old Matt that raised him didn't know what the stink he was doing about a lot of things. And I wouldn't agree with him today. Okay, but he still hangs on to that something fierce, as if it's helps him or something. Anyway, so there's something there, and I don't know quite what to do with it. I'm chewing on writing him a letter because he's so volatile. He's funny. If you go to a family function, he puts on the smiley face, gives you a hug, and as long as you don't breach something, but it's like a landmine field. You don't know where you're going to step on something, and then he gets all pissy, and you sure can't tell him, hey, don't get on your sister's case. Just leave him the stink alone. I don't know, because I don't have that right, I guess. But anyway, so that's something that I chew on.
Thank you.
Yes, oh, go ahead.
The first person who sprung to mind was a friend who I met about 7 years ago, and we had this great relationship that came together, and then we had a couple of real difficult years, complications. And without going into detail around that, I realized that I've done a certain amount of forgiveness, but there's probably another layer. And also I haven't looked at why that happened. I haven't really looked at what was the contract there, why did that happen, what was my learning. I don't think I've done that. So that's what I'm going to take from that. And I was reaching for my parents, but I think what came through stronger is my forgiveness of myself. Forgiveness for a lot of mistakes and a lot of partners to get to this point today, and for all the pain that I've caused coming through all those partners. I think there's something in there too. Another layer. That's me.
Thank you. Jane?
Okay, interestingly, I'm one of the two. So funny that Corey said that. I need to keep forgiving myself a lot more. It's my hardest lesson, getting over the belief I'm not enough. Clearly I have to work on this. I grew up in a really rough household. So the other person is, I want to forgive my mom more. Probably much like Shay, she just lacks love. She has no capacity to love herself and therefore can't love another. She's got controlling behavior. She's often mean. She is completely undemonstrative. And she just makes excuses her whole life. And for whatever reason, I felt I had to adopt those. I felt I had to have her as my parent to teach me a lot of really big lessons. So I want to forgive myself for that contract and get over it. So thank you.
Thank you, Jane. So who would like to go next? Do I need to pick?
Sure, I'll go next. Okay. My husband died last year, and we were married 51 years. And when he died, it was really hard, but it was also almost a relief, because he would get in these moods where he wouldn't talk or look at me for days, extending into weeks. And we took care of his mother the last few years. I took care of his mother the last few years before she died. And she even noticed, she said, "What's wrong with him?" I said, "I don't know, you ask him." That he would get in these moods. The one thing it did for me over all those years was it made me more self-reliant. So I'm almost grateful for that. But I feel that I need to forgive him for who he was. That's just who he was. It was no reflection on me. He would get in these moods. And then our daughter, who idolizes him, I mean, idolizes him. And she almost resents me because maybe I didn't do enough. So I would like to forgive her just for, she is who she is. But there is this, you can feel it with her when she's with me. She'll say, "Oh, you can tell me anything," but if I say something, she cuts me off. So I can't tell her anything. I have to be whatever she wants on her terms when I'm around her. And it's sad to say that I'm very grateful. She's self-sufficient. She has a really good family. She has her own things going on. But I would like to be able to be fully okay with just, she is who she is. And I'm always hoping we could have something a little bit better between us, but I don't see how that's going to happen. And just to be able to be okay with that, just to forgive the whole situation and not wanting something other than what it is. So that's where I'm at.
Kyle, Eric, Connie, Yannick, Christina, do you want to add to the conversation?
Yeah, well, I have, you said 2 stories or only one?
Well, some people shared one. You can do 1 or 2.
Okay, I'll try to be short. My mother likes to drink alcohol, and usually in that state, she tried to put my brothers against me and me against my brothers. So she has created a lot of trouble with us. And the other story, to be brief, I like martial arts, but I don't go to any school. So I buy the best videos of the best systems I know of martial arts, and I practice with one. Well, I used to practice with one friend, and we finish our practices because my friend fell in love with my wife, and he tried to make bad moves in that sense. So I forgive him, but of course he hasn't come to my house anymore. That's all.
Christina?
I don't really have, I don't feel like I have like hot items that I feel, like triggered or with like needing to forgive at this point. Not that I haven't. Like in the past, I could have talked to you for hours about my ex-husband, but I just don't feel it anymore. I'm able to think of him as a jolly guy, but yeah, there was like there was a lot that I was upset about that I'd take to the box, to a boxing ring, and let a lot of anger out that way, but I just don't feel that anymore. So I don't think that counts as your story. But
Well, it seems like you got over it, which is a good thing.
yeah. And then that's, I don't feel like I have anything else.
That's good. Thank you. Yannick?
Yes. The first is I'd like to forgive an ex-coworker of mine with whom I was team up in the past, where every single day that we worked together, he would always snap at me like I was constantly frustrating him. But if there's nothing I could do. I even tried to address it with him, but that's the way he was. And eventually I had to change stuff in my work environment so I wouldn't work with him anymore. But every time I meet him in the work environment, there's still resentment on my part. The number two is, and I used to have a roommate that I lived with for a couple of years. And he is an amazing person. I love him as a person, but financially, every time I made any financial move, anytime I bought something, anytime I did anything with money, it was always like, oh, Yannick, why did you do that? You could have gotten like a better deal elsewhere. Or why did you buy it new? You could have bought like secondhand and it would cost you less, and this and that. And so for years and years, systematically, he would criticize every single financial move I did, regardless. Now that we don't live together, in hindsight, I realize he is insecure financially and he was projecting that onto me. But nonetheless, even years later, I feel like every time I buy something or I pay for something, I have his nagging voice. What are you doing? Oh my God, you could have it look for cheaper elsewhere. It's like, oh man, I really need to forgive that guy because it's still there. That's all.
Thank you. That's good. Kyle?
So I used to work with a friend of mine at a grocery store, and there were two moments that I kind of learned from. One moment was I tried to push a belief system on him, and now I realize that that's probably not a very good idea. And the other time I tried to push music like on him, and I've realized that musical taste is much more complicated than I thought before, I guess. So I just kind of learned from those moments.
Thank you. And Connie? Leslie, we're doing an exercise in forgiveness. We're just telling two short stories about events that happened in our life that we feel like we have been going through and progressing processes of forgiveness with. I can already see your ex. You're muted.
Okay. No, I was doing this, trying to stay muted because everybody else is muted. It's nice. Am I too early?
You are, but we're just finishing an exercise, and if you want, you can join us. So the exercise is that each one said a story or two stories about forgiveness processes that he's either went through or still going through in his life. So like an event or a person, and whatever comes to mind.
Okay. Right, do you want me to share?
Yeah.
Okay, I've got one. It's like a double forgiveness. So long story short, I forgave my mum a long time ago. But when my dad died, this is just like a little, it's like a hidden one that I didn't realize was there. So when my dad died at the funeral, I was sitting next to my mum's best friend, who I hadn't seen for 20 years before my mum died. And she started to tell me how my mum had always, my mum was hard on me, really hard on me. And she started to tell me how my mum was worried about me more than any of, I'm one of three, because I was so gullible and naive. And she was hard on me to try and toughen me up. Of course, it had it didn't, when you're a person like me, it didn't just hurt. But anyway, so my forgiveness from that, I realized that it was like a double forgiveness, because then I had to forgive myself for not understanding where my mum was coming from, not realizing that she was trying to protect me with her toughness and her hardness and her, so, and that was only like 4 years ago. So it's like a strange one, but that's the one that comes to mind.
Everybody
make
has
sense?
issues with the family. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Usually the ones that are closest to us.
Yeah, but she was trying to protect me, and I just took it as, yeah. It didn't,
Yeah, I know.
yeah. She was trying to toughen me up. Shall I mute again?
No, I think it's okay, as long as I think Eric had a difficult time with us, with every time, you know, somebody had a little noise, then he wouldn't see, but he hasn't been complaining about it, and some people are unmuted, so I think it's okay. Jane?
Hey, Ray, are you able to share with us that first exercise you just did? Do you
Yeah.
have that in writing somewhere that you could share?
No, but
Oh.
it will be in the recording.
Oh, beautiful. Oh, right, of course. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm curious, which exercise?
Well, you remember that we did the 3-hour Ho'oponopono in the process?
Oh, the Ho'oponopono.
So
Okay.
it starts with like a 15
Yeah.
minutes self-forgiveness visualization type of.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, does anybody here know Ho'oponopono? Have you ever heard about it? Can you give a few words to the group? Okay, good. So a lot of people know it.
Oh, yeah.
Bobby, you want to say a few words? Just explain what, like the origin of the doctor and what happened and how he found it out. You're
muted.
There's a book called Zero Limits. And what's interesting was, here's a psychologist that was hired by a psychiatric hospital. Actually, it was a prison for the criminally insane. And he said, as long as I can work with the patients on my terms. He never saw a patient. He would just take their files and go through the files, and whatever that person had done, however he felt about it, he would go through this process. I'm sorry, please forgive me. Thank you, I love you. And what he talks about is transmuting the energy, because if he feels it, then, and he transmutes the energy in him, it affects the person. He also kind of talked to the building, and the building was in sad repair, and the building said, you know, it was very dreary, and he got them to eventually repaint the building and make it look brighter. They had an extremely high people not showing up for work and high turnover rate of the employees. And the first 6 months he was there, the turnover rate had subsided, and all of a sudden everybody was showing up. So, and I think it was within the first year, people who used to be shackled and chained were no longer needing to be shackled and chained. And within 3 years, this facility was closed because people were getting released. And I think there was only, he said there was only 2 people that it was not affected by his approach. And they, of course, were transferred to other facilities. So it's pretty amazing that what you feel in you, that when you change it in you, you change it in everybody that it affects. Such as if I'm able to fully release what I'm feeling about someone else, it changes the way someone else feels, because we're all in this integrated field together. But that's what Ho'opono basically is. Realizing forgiving it in yourself and how you feel about it affects everybody that feels the same way.
Good explanation.
Really good. I've chosen well to choose you to explain. So
Thank
what we do in the physical processes is we usually would give about a couple of hours just before the water ceremony. Don't worry, we're not going to do that now. It's just a recommendation that we make a list of names that come up. You know, we just lie down and we write down these names, and after that we go through a process of Ho'oponopono with them. Like, really simply put, we see the image of what happened, we go through a process of forgiving them, then we can visualize that they forgive us, and then we say thank you for the experience, thank you for being who you are, thank you for helping me achieving this, and then just saying to them that you love them and you respect them as a human being. So it's a recommendation if you guys want to do it. It's a good time to do it in the process, because you're still like in this type of like energetic peak, and your body isn't really strong, and there's good time to still be in that type of forgiveness vibration. Now, the moment we've been waiting for, the water ceremony.
Oh, is this the water ceremony?
That's why I invited you. I invited you to also say a few words afterwards, and I want to just honor their time. So I want everyone to hold your water. Okay, hold it with both hands. Matt, question?
Just a second, I have to go get it. I left it upstairs in the fridge.
Go ahead.
And just one other thing, the gentleman who brought this to our attention, his name is Dr. Ihaliakila Hulen. He talked about blue bottles and putting the water in the sun, and he calls it blue solar water. And basically what that does is it restructures the water to be the most optimum for the body to absorb. So I have my blue bottle, it's been in the sun, and that's what I plan on drinking today.
And now Yannick hears that little friend of his saying, why don't you have the blue bottle? I actually bought the blue bottle as well. It's the one with the laser engraving, you know,
Yep.
of that. So yeah, I bought that from that company. They actually wanted me to, they actually had me add in my video in the description the link, so other people will be able to buy it from the link.
Yeah.
Really cool. Right. So the first
Ray,
thing I want you.
Ray, can we drink in copper bottles,
If you like, I don't see any
or
reason
not,
not.
because of the minerals that it adds to the water?
It's up to your belief system. Like, I know some people think that copper, well, it's up to you, Eric. But I can tell you that every person now that will stop me to ask a question, you're just postponing the water. Okay, so just hold the bottle of water. Now, I want you to understand, you went through 3.5 dry fasting days. It's the first time in
Well
your
done.
life that you've never, ever drank for 3.5 days. Okay, water is a part of the human existence. Water is a part of planet Earth. Water is what gives us life. And you've learned to appreciate water quite a lot in this time. You've also went through a process of forgiveness. You also went through different workshops and different exercises and meditations that brought energy into your body and has released a lot of the things that you no longer need to hold on to. Not only teaching your body that it doesn't have to have water so much. And with that gratitude that you have for water right now, I want you to bless this water, and not only your water, but everybody that was with the group and doing it with you. So send them your love, and send them your gratitude, and send them your energy, and have their water heal them, and have their water reinitiate and reset processes within their body. So intend on that. And when everybody does it to each other, it multiplies the energy of the water. And that restructures the water.
Ray, one more question, sorry. I fulfilled 3 days and a half at 3 o'clock today. So does it matter if I drink with you, or I have to wait until 3?
No, it's okay. You can drink with us. It's actually 3 days, and the half a day is sort of the additional time that I take, just in case.
But I don't break with the process, and it's okay.
It's okay.
Thank you.
So I want you to take the bottle of water or the glass that you're going to drink. If you're going to drink directly from the bottle, then the bottle. If not, then the glass itself. And we're all going to say a small prayer together, and then you'll be able to drink. So repeat after me. I take you,
I take you,
I take you,
golden water of light,
golden
golden water of life,
and I promise
and I promise
to never, ever, ever take you for granted again.
to never ever take you for granted again.
I thank you
I thank you
for being my future selves,
for being my future self,
and I thank you again
and I thank you
and promise
and promise
to never, ever, ever take you for granted again.
to never ever take you for granted again.
Amen.
Amen.
So be it.
And you can drink slowly. Salute.
As it is written, to the hungry, all things are sweet.
Mhm.
I'm saying, if you're thirsty, oh my goodness.
Nice. It's a long time since I've watched this. It's really nice to see it.
So the safe way is to have 1 glass every half an hour for the first 4 glasses. So that means for the coming 2 hours. And again, some of you might feel very, very grounded very quickly. Some of you might feel that the water doesn't taste good. Others will feel it tastes amazing. The dry mouth will take a couple of hours until the water sinks into the body. So don't worry if you still have a dry mouth, but don't drink too much, because again, you will feel very, very heavy. Your body has grown accustomed to being without water, and it takes a little bit of time to reset the system. Starting tomorrow, you may have diluted juices, which is in the beginning, 25% juice, 75% water. And at noon, you can do 50-50. Now, don't worry, even 75% water and 25% juice, it still tastes great. And you will see. You just don't want, again, for the grounding, to slowly, slowly step out of the dry fast. And you will see that you will already have more energy tonight and tomorrow. And now you'll be highly motivated and on a roll. You have the momentum of the dry fast.
Can we drink coconut water mixed with water tomorrow?
Tomorrow, yes. Today, no.
Okay.
So coconut water is
Also-
like juice.
25-75 with
In the
coconut
morning
water.
until noon, and at noon you can do 50-50 until the night. Matt?
Yeah. Okay, now I'm planning on prolonging my water fast for a while. I don't know how long. Okay, but when I get there, now, I don't know if this is psychological or physiological, you tell me, okay, as far as the parameters on what I drink. Because I was thinking, like my wife will make vegetable soup, and I was thinking to drink the broth off of the soup. And
You mean after an extended water fast?
yeah, when I start getting to where I want to taste something, when I get to that point, I'm still going to go be liquid. I just, and I was thinking to drink coffee too, but I didn't know, like normally when I make coffee, what I put in is I put like a pat of butter in it. That may sound weird, butter, and then monk fruit, and then a little bit of cocoa powder in it, and then I blend it.
Are you
Okay.
sure that's called coffee?
Yeah, it's called bulletproof coffee. It actually, the fat in the coffee actually like totally kills your appetite. I mean, it just yeah, I did it as an experiment because I never used to drink coffee, and then it worked because I'd be driving semi, and I'd drink coffee in the morning, and I wouldn't eat
Well,
until the evening.
I'll tell you, tomorrow we have like an hour and a half integration workshop, and I'll explain all my guidelines and rules, and we can bring up these type of questions as well, because it's very specific. But generally, you'll be able to drink whatever you want that is liquidy. But we'll talk about it tomorrow. Don't worry. Today, just focus
Okay.
on safely exiting the dry fast.
Okay.
And there's no tastes today. You may enjoy hot water or cold water. You put some ice cubes in your water and play around with them with your tongue.
Yeah,
But there's
I'm gonna
no
have.
leaves, there's no coffee, there's no tea, there's no nothing.
Yeah.
Ray, tomorrow, can I add some baking soda, a pinch of baking soda and lemon to my water? Or is not possible to use baking soda?
If it's a pinch, then it's okay. Why would you like to add the baking soda?
Oh, because it tastes great for me. It's like a, yeah. And also I wanted to ask you if you know about the benefits of diluted seawater. Diluted, I mean 100 milliliters of seawater plus 900 milliliters of sweet water.
No?
That should be fine.
Oh, that's great because yeah, seawater is amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's very beneficial. We do a lot of that here in Spain.
Really?
You can buy seawater. Yeah,
Why do I need to buy seawater?
they buy it. It's diluted because it's for the health benefits.
Yeah, I go to the sea and I bring it to the mountain. Actually,
Yeah.
I sell seawater, and it's a great business here. Yeah,
Yeah.
with my patients.
But I'm not going to be in the integration tomorrow. So can I just add that broth, Matt, broth was my go-to. That was what I just went straight onto broth after the, once I integrated. I didn't do the fruit juice. I tried the fruit juices, but they didn't suit my body. If you remember, Ray, it was just I was saying, can I have some carrot, please? Can I have anything but fruit? And I went straight on to broth, and that was what I stayed on for years, broth, one time.
We'll talk about that tomorrow too. Salty stuff is not for everyone in the beginning, like tomato juice.
No salt, just plain broth.
But broth is not it's not like the fruit juice. It's different.
No, it's not, but it worked for me. Fruit juice doesn't work for everybody.
And it's considered to be more salty because it's like soup based, and soup is usually not.
Well, in this particular case, what I would have my wife do is make it without any salt in it. I'll take off my portion, and then
that's what I did.
That's what I was going to do.
Yeah. The only reason I mention it is because I won't be in the integration. Well, this is my bit of input.
Well,
now.
this is your time, Les. I brought you in as a testimonial, not only because of your path, but because you've known so many of my students.
Yeah.
So you know what these guys are going to be heading towards in a couple of weeks, in a couple of months, and this is a time to share.
Yeah. So, well, this again, it's a bit integration-y, isn't it? This.
It is, but it's a good
Yeah.
opportunity because I know that you're not going to be here tomorrow in the integration.
Okay, all right. And so you want me to go in? Okay, fair enough.
Actually, what I wanted originally was
Yeah.
for you to kind of like tell them emotionally what they're going to deal with and maybe share your own, stories that you went through with some of the participants, especially the guilt part.
The guilt,
emotional
yeah,
part.
For the first 2 to 3 weeks, you're going to be riding off of the back of this experience. So you're going to be okay, 2 to 3 weeks. And then the guilt starts to, for some, not everybody, but it is quite a high ratio where people start to feel guilty because now they're craving something. And they start to feel bad, like they're letting themselves down or they're letting the process down. But guilt is a big one that can come in. Frustration is another one. Disappointment is another one. These are all feelings that you may or may not experience, but it is common for this to happen. And it's usually around 3 weeks. So once this is going to, as I say, this is going to carry you for quite a while, 2 to 3 weeks. So what I say to everybody is, whatever it is that comes up. Sorry?
It's okay. I was just talking to somebody else.
Oh, okay. So whatever it is that comes up, those of you that have done the ERA process with me, then you use ERA on whatever comes up. It's simple. You just use ERA, come to peace and move on. For those of you that haven't, you've got to be okay with the feeling. Whatever comes up, just be okay with the feeling. Don't berate yourself. Try not to give yourself a hard time. Put your attention on something you enjoy. So override that feeling or distract yourself with reading, listen to music, go for a walk. Just get through it. Stay in a high vibe. Do something that you love. Don't get in here and allow this to just give you a hard time. Because keeping your vibration high is the most important thing. Even if you succumb and you eat something that you really don't want to eat, but you eat it, and this again happens a lot, chocolate or meat. If you're vegetarian, all of a sudden you want to eat meat. There's lots of reasons for why that can happen. Enjoy it. If you're going to do it, enjoy it. Put all your enjoyment into it, the flavors, because if you do that, it won't last so long and you're keeping your vibration high. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
That's more important than what you're actually doing, is to keep your vibe high. If you start to berate yourself and give yourself a hard time, it will continue and you'll just go down further and further and further. I can't tell you how many people have done that. And our ego always wants to do that. It will latch onto it. So you've got to be strong. When I say strong in your conviction to whatever it is that you're doing, be okay with it. And as I said, those of you that have done ERA, use the experience to become more peace. It's a really good opportunity to become more peace. And what else? I went over in the workshop, I told you about all the possible, if you're angry, wanting meat, crunchiness, frustration. The other thing that's possible that you may experience is, as we have parasites in our body, and as they're dying off, it's always the parasites that like meat are the ones that are going to come up first, because they're at the top of the hierarchy. So it could be that it's actually the parasites that are dying and they're going, feed me, feed me, feed me. Then you've got, I can't remember what the second one is, but the last one is Candida. Candida will always go for the sugary sweet things. So if you have Candida or systemic Candida, the dry fast will have killed it off a lot, but with the die off, there's always that last that doesn't want to go. So it's like, feed me, feed me, feed me, feed me. So there may be some cravings as a result of that. So you've got the emotional cravings, you've got the possible parasitic cravings. Then you've got, and then the last one that, no, I think that's pretty much it, because I was going to say the guilt, but that's emotional. So those are the things that I found working with everybody, and not so much for myself, because I explained to you my emotional body was pretty strong, but they seem to be the most prominent, for want of a better word, problems. And it's always shocking to the person, whoever it's happening to, they're always surprised. Anything else? Any questions about that? I mean, I'm there. You know, if any of you are going through this, remember, I am on the group. If you're struggling, because in the last two processes, I had quite a few people that I supported after, particularly with the parasites and the candida. That was, I helped quite a few people with that to help them get over that, or to eliminate. And there is I'll share with you, there is a test that you can do to see if you have candida or systemic candida, which is, it's prevalent in our society. It's much more prevalent than people realize. There's a test that you can do, which I can help you with that if you want me to. And there's no charge for that. I'm happy to do that. So, anything else you want me to share, Ray? Or any questions about that?
Only if they have questions. How many of you are planning to continue with this, let's call it the Breatharian level 3 lifestyle? Well, you guys would know that it's good to learn from those that came before you, and there's quite a lot to learn. So it's not only the ones that you see, like me and Leslie and AJ and other ones that, you know, are more upcoming about it and talking about it and stuff. There's a lot of variations for breatharians, but after this, you kind of experience it by yourself. So after this, unless you guys keep contact with each other, you kind of feel alone. And so this is a good time to ask all those questions. And what she's saying, like, it's not predictable how you're going to behave, how you're going to feel, and even though this is beginning the conversation of the integration tomorrow, it's basically two things: mind games and social games. Mm-hmm. Social games that create mind games, and mind games that create social games, pretty much. Like, that's how I see it, and I'm more of a mental person.
Yeah, that's a good point. But that's more like what you're going to be talking about tomorrow. There were never any social or mental games for me because I was emotionally strong. So my thing for you guys is the other stuff, the hidden stuff, the sneaky stuff. I call it the sneaky stuff. And it is sneaky. The ego's a slippery, sneaky. It's a slippery eel. It's like you're going to be one step ahead.
It's Peter Pan trying to catch his shadow, and you can't catch your shadow. Yeah.
And remember, it's your process. Like Ray said, it's your process. Ray's teaching you. I'll teach you or support you the way I can. Grace will support. That's her process, but everybody's process is different. It's your process. Everybody's process. What we're doing is just sharing our experiences. And I don't know if I mentioned to you, but I started on this journey through nutritional medicine, actually going into this world years ago, 30 odd years ago. It was through nutritional medicine. So I do have a background in nutrition. It was my number one thing. It isn't now. I use it to support. Obviously, the emotional body is my thing now, because I think that's the most important thing. But what I'm saying is sometimes there is something still going on for a little while that needs to be addressed, and we need to understand it physically to be able to rise above it, shall we say.
Do you remember when you started getting your physical strength back?
Oh, yeah. Oh, that was so cool. I mean, can I mention I mentioned to, can I mention this, Corey, today?
Yeah.
I said, I mentioned to Corey that, and I think also, might have been Bobby, that I really struggled physically. I was in a lot of pain from literally the first day. The pain started in my lower back, in my sacrum, just as a throb. And by day 3, it was excruciating. I was, for 2 days, I couldn't lie down. Anyway, I was sitting like, just sitting like that. I couldn't sleep because of the pain.
This sounds like me, Leslie. I couldn't
yeah.
actually have to sit up.
That's why I totally empathize, and I'm so sorry I couldn't get to you today. But
That's okay.
by the third night, because the third night is the catalyst. By the time you get to the third night, that's when a transition happens. And I was, if you remember, Ray, I had to send for him because I was crying with the pain, which is not like me. I couldn't sleep. I was exhausted. And I was sat on the edge of the bed, and this is in Holland, in the freezing cold, with one coal burner out of the whole building. And I was sat on the edge of the bed, and I was crying. I said, can I just take a paracetamol, please? And I took a paracetamol dry because it was so bad. And I lay down on my side. So once it started to kick in, I just kind of lay down on my side. And this memory came up. And it was a memory of when I was born. I remembered I was a breech birth. So, and as long as I could remember, my mum was telling me what a pain I was. I was a breech birth and blah, 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 how bad it was for her. And I was thinking how bad it was for her. And I just thought, sorry about the dog. I thought, my God, what was it like for me? And I felt myself all scrunched up for ages and like squashed for ages. And once I acknowledged that, the pain went, just went, gone. And I finally went, and I laid down. And that was on the third night. The pain disappeared. The next day, I was exhausted. I could hardly put one foot in front of it. I fainted, didn't I? Do you remember? I collapsed.
I remember you fainted, and then I remember that you had like this vision of this Mongolian guy.
Oh yeah. Yeah. This big Mongolian guy. I saw him. Massive he was, like a giant, with all this rain dripping off him. And he has leather jacket, leather coat, leather hat. And I said, are you Mongolian? No, first of all, I thought he was Jesus because he had a beard. And then I saw he had like pocked skin. I thought, no, it's not Jesus. I said, are you Mongolian too? And he said, just went like that. And I went, okay, so do you have anything for me? And he went, I was so tired, I thought, oh, I can't be bothered. And I turned over and went to sleep. I just left him. I just can't be bothered with this. But 3 months later, we got a Mongolian yurt given to, well, not given to us, but anyway, that's another story. So the next day, I could hardly put one foot in front of the other. So we're on day 10, because then it was a 10-day process. And then at that day, I was going to Geneva, and I had 5 days solid work. And I could hardly put, and I was dragging my suitcase. I thought, what on earth was I thinking? That I could do this and then go on to do 5 days work. Anyway, I was worried. King, loads of energy. What, you know, like masses of energy. So that was what happened to me. It just took that one day, then the next day, and I had loads of energy from then on. Never look back. Never look back. But that's my story. That doesn't mean it'll be the same for you. But I was so impressed with the way I was feeling because, you know, I wasn't a spring chicken when I did it. And I thought, is this how I'm going to be now? I'm going to have to start eating again just to get some energy. But no, I was fine. I didn't feel dizzy or anything after that. So it was just the one day. Yeah.
For most people, it takes a couple of weeks. For me, that I did the 21 day, it took a couple of months because it was much more difficult on the body. And I know my friends, some people that were my students, some of them started running afterwards. Some of them stopped snoozing afterwards. It's like it's gradually until you get the same level of energy, and most people report that they have even more than they used to have before, which is kind of amazing.
I was one of those. Yeah, I was one of those.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was very, very, very fortunate. But again, I'm sorry to be boring, but I do put it down to the fact that my emotional body was strong.
You are emotionally clean compared to others.
And I think that's why the energy strength, and I was absolutely fine after. But it was quite funny, the lead up and the fact that I was the only one that fainted out of the group.
I remember it was my first process abroad, right?
Yeah, in Holland. Yeah. You guys, you're all at home with your home comforts and what have you. But that was a tough.
I learned quite a lot from that. First
Yeah.
time speaking English in front of a group, first time organizing, it was a very small event. It was 11, 12 people. Today, our events, the maximum was 55 people in Phoenix, like the last physical one.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you,
And you-
Leslie.
Maybe you're welcome. Any questions? Anything I can help
Yeah, can I
anybody
ask
with?
an integration question? I'm sure we'll talk about it more tomorrow, so at least for today, should we be limiting how much water we have, or should we be pouring as much water as
If
we
we're
can
talking
down?
about today, just the first couple of hours, and it's a safety precaution.
Yep.
Just the first couple of hours. Afterwards, you won't want to drink that much. Like it was in your head, you've been building up this fantasy that you're going to be like pouring, liters of water down your mouth, but eventually you're going to feel like you've had enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so into the future, are we, say on a day where we have a juice, would we not drink water, or is it generally we would just have a juice or a broth and not have
Good
water?
question. So some people still enjoy the taste of water, but after a while, when you realize that you don't really need that much water, then you prefer to have like some sort of taste. So it's either coffee or tea or juice or lemon with your water or coconut water. This is, for some people, they do enjoy just water, but you don't have to have that much water as before. So
Can I add something else as well? It just occurred to me that you can do. Are you all, or are any of you familiar with Masaru Emoto's work?
I read his book last night.
Yeah,
Wow.
so the Masaru Emoto did a lot of experiments with water, freezing the molecules. So I have on all over my, I use, the water I use, I have all over it. Like you can use a list of vitamins and minerals. You can have it underneath your water if you wish, or happiness, joy, whatever it is that you feel like you need, you can overlay it. It doesn't matter. There's no limit. You can put that under your water. So whatever you feel you need, like for instance, if you suffer with the cramp, well, cramp is very common. You can put magnesium underneath. Just write it down. Put it underneath your water, and you'll get extra magnesium. Another thing you can do is just imagine magnesium coming down into your being. If you feel that that's what you need. So if you have it's good to increase your intuition about yourself, for yourself. What do I feel? What do I feel like I need? So if you're really good at it, at visualization or feeling, you can imagine it coming in like osmosis into your system, or just put it on a piece of paper underneath the water. Yep.
I was going to ask, I had it in my head, and I don't know if this is important or not, but I was thinking to do a dry fast, where I had a couple days out of the week where I just didn't drink water. Even when I get to where I'm, tasting things, so to speak. Is there any necessity or helpfulness in that, where you just go without water as part of your regimen? Any thoughts there?
It's good to have a dry fast day, isn't it, Ray? Now and
Yes,
again.
once a week at least, and some people do even more. Actually, it doesn't. It won't make sense to you now, but you will feel more pranic on the dry days than you will the water days, because the water you will still have you thinking, should I have, and how much should I have, and when should I have? And in the dry days, just like in long hikes that I did with AJ, like days that you just don't take anything, you're free. You're completely free, and your body, the detoxification, you really feel this like lucidity and vividness and clear and focused, like you guys did. Some of you at least felt yesterday and today. You understand?
And it gives your body the opportunity to heal better,
Yes, definitely.
because your body uses the dead tissue for fuel. Anything that isn't required, your body uses it for fuel.
Is it possible to drink carrot juice or some other stuff like that during this month, or it should be only fruit from the outside of the
We'll talk
tree?
about it tomorrow. There's no reason to go into it now. It's really simple.
Okay.
I'm a fan of carrot juice. I'm a fan of green juice generally.
Nah,
I'm just putting, yeah, I'm putting my input in because I will be
Nah.
there tomorrow.
green juice sucks.
It doesn't if you do it right. It's nice if you do it right. Celery juice in the morning is really, really good.
Yeah, and if
Alkalizes.
you add an apple, it tastes amazing. Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah, you see, right?
Leslie, it was funny because you forgot that they're still dry fasting, and as you came in, you were like had this glass
Drinking
of
my
water,
water.
and
Well,
I
don't
saw
you-
you- and I saw
But
you
don't you
drinking in front of
remember
them.
on the retreats, I'm the
I-
one that's going around drinking in front of everybody, and I
I
say, get used
noticed
to
that. I'm
it.
sitting there going, oh
Get
my
used to
goodness,
it. No,
she's
I'm
just cruel.
I am cruel. But the thing is, you've got to get used to it and you will get used to it. When you're used to doing this, you'll be around people who are drinking.
Oh,
Or is
see,
So I used to do it
she's
on
trying to toughen
purpose.
us up.
See what it
Yeah.
brings up. What does it bring up in you?
No, it's seriously, it's one of the most challenging things, because eventually you guys are gonna say to yourself, okay, I'm going 3 months now, 4 months now. Some of you are gonna say 1 year without solid food. And then you will be invited to restaurants, and there'll be Christmas, and there'll be events, and there'll be weddings, and there'll be, weekend things like your mom coming to visit or whatever. And a lot of people are going to mess around with your mind, with that idea. But
So I just messed around with your minds.
exactly. You just forgot. You just forgot.
I didn't.
I
didn't.
On
I did.
on the flip side of that, my partner was having her experience. So she came to visit me yesterday, and she needed to eat and drink, and she was checking in with me again whether she went to do it and then
Okay.
realized to do it in front of you, you're dry fasting. And I said, no, that's absolutely fine. We have to navigate this conversation that it's going to be okay for her. And in fact, I love that she eats and drinks in front of me, that I receive something in just the watching and the smells. And so I picked up the hummus and smelt it, and it was fine. But I understand that it's also my partner's navigation space as well, not just my own in this process.
To be honest, other people usually have more difficulty than you because you're not joining in.
Yeah. All right.
So you just got to learn. Do what I do, just laugh. It's fine.
I want you guys to give you guys the space. I'm going to leave my camera and the Zoom open for another hour or so. And if you have any more questions to Leslie, now is the time. Jane?
I actually would like some clarification, please, Ray, on the Ho'oponopono forgiveness list that we're going to do with everybody on
Sure.
our own. So are you recommending we just do the I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you?
Well, what I usually do,
love it.
it's like there's a two-part process. The first part is you just lay back and you have a list next to you with a pen, and there's names that are going to come up. Now, if you don't have these names coming up, what I do, or what I recommend, is to start remembering your whole life. from as early as you were born until this day. Everything, high school and moving and voyages and stuff like that. And you will see that these names, these specific people come up. And when you finish with that and you have that list, which can be anywhere between 10 people to 200, then you start going in your, your visualization, your face, safe space, and you do this Ho'oponopono with them. So in the beginning, you accept responsibility and you ask for forgiveness, even though you feel like you didn't have any part in it. Yeah. And then they say that they're sorry, and you kind of embrace that and see that in the astral plane as a spirit, as a soul. They ask for that forgiveness, and you do your best to accept it, and then gratitude, and then just love them. And you can imagine it in whatever way makes you feel good about it. If you want to imagine that you're giving them a hug, if you want to imagine that, there's a burden, there's like a rock from your heart that is disentangled, and you give it to them and they go away, and like you want to feel like the vibration has left your body and you are unburdening yourself.
Okay, thank you.
Any questions for me? Yes, Christine.
Yesterday I took a shower and I had a lot of water come into my mouth. It was so sweet. It was amazing. But then afterwards, I had so much acid reflux that I typically do not experience. It was kind of overwhelming. So I don't know if anybody has some feedback on that, Ray or Leslie.
Yeah.
You didn't swallow anything. Leslie, you want to take this?
Yeah. Acid reflux literally is something that it was coming up with that you're not consciously aware of, shall we say. And it could be connected to what you've done 5 days ago, is the burning sensation. Acid is always connected to like heartburn is your heart. It's what you can't accept. Yeah, does that make sense?
What I can't accept?
Yeah, something that you're not accepting. Now, you don't need to know what it is, just to know that that's what that represents. If you can be okay with that, you don't need to know what it is, but that's what it represents. It's something that you can't accept, something that's happened or is happening that you just can't accept. You're not ready to accept it yet.
That's why
Like the idea that you don't love being an architect or something like that.
You don't love what?
being an
I
architect.
said like the idea that maybe you don't love being an architect.
It could be. It could be that. It could be something else that's stopping her being an architect.
I think there's a lot of things that I can't accept. So,
Well, that would make sense then about the acid coming up, because it would have to be something big. It's not, there's often things in our lives that we don't want to accept, but they're just one or two. But if there's a lot for you to get acid reflux, that's a lot. And so often, if people get like an acidic taste in their mouth, or a very metallic, astringent, like a very strong taste when they drink the water, it's the same thing. It represents the same thing.
There's a great book that I use, and it helps me kind of understand what could be behind things. And it's called The Secret Language of Your Body.
Mm-hmm.
And it will show, like acid reflux says this, and this, and not everything will resonate, but usually one piece of it will say, oh, and make us realize. And what it does is gives you something to work on that you need to release, whether you use Leslie's method or the method in the book type of thing. But it's a very, very powerful book in order to, okay, I'm dealing with this. What is it that I need to look at? And then you can go into the book and look at some of the emotional components that may be the driver behind it. And it's been extremely helpful for me. My one example is I was getting a UTI, and I never get UTIs. And I was dealing with this component, and I worked with other people behind it. And needless to say, so I looked up UTI, And by God, that came up in that particular instance. And so I thought, okay, the second day I was working with it, the UTI symptoms left. And it took me probably a week to get to the core of it and then resolve the core. And now I have no emotional charge to that core issue. So it was interesting how it kept showing up in my life. And finally, to this degree, but I had something to go to understand, okay, what does this mean? And I was able to pull it. I mean, it just jumped out at me. A deep-seated belief that there's something wrong with you is what it is. And I had already worked with several other people on that component. But when I got into it and worked with it and finally resolved it, like I said, the UTI, the second day I was addressing it, the UTI was gone. So it's interesting just addressing it, how your body feels relieved that, okay, you're finally going to do something about this. So I found it to be very helpful.
It's being recognized, but I would say use ERA. Obviously. I mean,
Well, I didn't know ERA.
No, not you. I'm talking, sorry. Well, with the acid reflux, however it makes you feel, use
Right.
ERA with that, because what Bobby has said is absolutely correct. When it's something's recognized, it does dissolve to a degree, sometimes completely, sometimes not. There's a little seed left there. But the recognition is a lot to do with it. But if you recognize it the way that we've worked together, it'll be gone in a minute or 2 or 3, depending on how long it takes you. That depends on how comfortable you are using ERA.
Thank you. Yeah, I did use it. I was like, I don't know what this is, but let me try ERA.
Good.
And then it did go away. Yeah. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Bobby. That was a good. You're very good at explaining things.
Oh, thank you.
Any
I
more
write a lot.
questions? Yeah, you can tell you're good with words. Yeah, I wish I had your expertise, but I don't. I just laugh my way through things. I get through in the end.
Yeah.
Anyone else
No.
would like to ask me anything? No, we're all cool.
Mhm.
Okay, so you know where I am. Please reach out to me if you want any help with anything. I'm happy to help. I'm here to serve, seriously here to serve. ERA to the side, anything to do with this, if I can help you, please reach out. And I will see you on the WhatsApp chat.
Yeah.
Thanks, Ray.
Thank you, Leslie.
Bye.
Bye. So, friends, I'm gonna just leave it open for another hour or 2, something like that. So if you guys want to hang out together, if you wanna hang out separately, no problems here. I'm going to go downstairs and spend some time with my wife. That feels like I've abandoned her for a week. And we'll talk again tomorrow. Eric, I'll answer it tomorrow if you have a question. It's about.
Now, the one thing when I was talking about Ho'oponopono, the core belief of what Dr. Haleakala Hulen says is accepting 100% responsibility for your life. And that's where you come from. It's never anybody else's fault. It's never outside of you. Accepting 100% responsibility for your life. And that's the premise of the Ho'oponopono.
Okay. Hey, Yannick. Question for you.
Yes.
Okay, so you've gone through this before, did it yourself, and now you've gone through where you paid big bucks to go through this, and you have these tools that we've been shown. Okay, so you seemed a little discouraged about some things that you'd mentioned a day or so ago, and I was just curious where you're at, what's your takeaway from just an honest analysis.
What an amazing question, Matt. Because In truth, the time I did the first 10-day process on my own, I felt like it was Christmas for 10 days. I was by myself. I had the ideal house for it. To me, it was a spiritual process that I was going through. It made my heart sing. It was, look, that happened in January 2021. And I'll say this to you guys. If I look back at my life, January 2021 was the best month of my life, period, because I became a breatharian, and it was a miracle. Everything was just so amazing. Even 3.5 days of dry fast, actually, I was ecstatic about it. Now, your question, Matt, I have to say, I'm going to pick my words carefully, and I have a lot of respect for Ray and for Leslie and for Grace, but my expectations were so high that I set myself up for disappointment. I walk out of this process like I lost a lot of money. I should have done this by myself. Not that I don't appreciate you guys. Oh my God, it's the exact opposite. What I'm getting out of this is, in fact, the connection that we have and that we'll be able to linger for 6 weeks. But to me, the way I work, this course did not meet my expectations at all. I like to understand the whys of things. I like to understand why are we doing something. So we're doing something, and we always did something that I was passionate about. Example, we did a past life regression. Oh my God, I'm into that stuff a lot. But in the back of my mind, I was like, how is this going to help me live without food? And then we did some spiral dynamic, which was really brilliant from Ray. But in the back, and I did ask the question, I appreciate that he answered. It's like, how does this pertain to live without food? And then, for example, so we get together in the circles. Oh, today we're doing this breathing exercise. And I'm like, but why? Is this going to help me live without food? And then we do this other thing, and everything we did, there was never, the question was never addressed as to how is what we're about to do connected to your end goal. It was more like a roller coaster ride. You know, when you buckle up in your roller coasters and you go click and you're in it and you can't get out and you just go with the process. That's how I experienced it, is that I went through the process, but the whole time, I honestly, I wanted out. I feel like I would have been a lot more efficient on my own. All of you, I'm sure, have unlimited internet, but I don't. So I busted all my data for the whole month in about 5 days doing Zoom meetings. And at times I felt a bit discouraged, almost resentful, going like, okay, well, 3 hours of Zoom meeting? I feel like I could have done a lot more on my own. If you give me 3 hours, I can do all the Tibetan rite and the Falun Dafa. These are all things I've done before. But the feel, when I need to meditate, I like to meditate on my own, and I love it. But I felt more like, oh, to me, oh, it's the time for the circle. Oh, we have to meditate. Oh, I have to meditate. I might not be in the mood to meditate, or maybe this is not a good timing for me. So basically what happened is I had to adjust to somebody else's rhythm, with somebody else's schedule, with somebody else's pace. And in the end, honestly, I'm looking forward to the end of this process, so I can revert back to go at my own pace and do the things the way they work best for me. But again, I can't take anything away from Ray. I find that he's a shining soul. He opened up, like, I love his YouTube channel. Like, wow, really? So it's same with Leslie. I love her energy. Grace is a delight. I have nothing to say against anyone. It's just that I only have something to say against myself. I really set myself up for disappointment. My expectations were unmeetable. So I hope it answers your question.
I appreciate your candor. Yeah, that's what I was just curious about. I know that some people, and maybe you're one of those people, where, because my wife's this way, is she has her own little plan, her own cycle of things, and she doesn't like it being crimped on by anybody. I mean, emotionally it affects her, whereas I'm like more free spirited and I can just kind of go with the flow, even if it's not my flavor. And yeah, so if you're even wired that way, that would be more straining. So I was just curious your takeaway there, especially having done this before. Yeah, because I'm with you on I want to know why I'm doing something. And, because I came from Christianity where it's all rules, it's in a book and da 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 da. And so when after having rejected that because the answers weren't there, if anybody says to me, oh, just have faith, I'm like, bull crap. I'm like, you give me something to have faith in, and then we'll roll with that, that's why. But I'm open. I mean, the breath techniques and things like that. I have seen martial artists do some of these things. And when you feel the energy well up in you because of a breath technique, just before you're about to pummel some guy to death, that's a good handy thing. So anyway, I just want to know that I know. So thanks for sharing.
So
Connie?
Yannick, so if you could create a retreat, what do you think is the core of this retreat or of this process? Only the fasting and to be in silence 9 days? Because my wife wants to do this maybe in 2 months or so. What do you recommend?
Because
Or
the thing is,
Yeah, or what do you think are the basic steps to attain this state?
I can sum it up in mere seconds. You need a 3.5 days of dry fast, during which time you inhale prana to feed your body. That's it. Everything else is good. But bottom line is you need 3.5 days of dry fast to inhale prana and open your channel so that it feeds your body. So whether you take a few days before to get ready, of course, if you're going to present this class to many people, not everybody's at the same level. So you want to make sure that everybody prepares. But a whole week of raw food is kind of optional. And the way we approach it is gradual, it's beneficial. But I'm repeating it, and I don't want to be redundant, but the secret that we're being presented here is spend 3.5 days of dry fast to open up your prana channel, during which time you breathe in energy to feed your cells.
What would you say about the whole mental manifestation? If you don't believe it, I mean, people starve to death and die because they believe they're going to starve to death and die. That to me seemed to be very valuable because throughout, for me, at least through this whole thing, is because you'll see some, oh, you need to do this, oh, you need to do this, and Ray's more like, well, what do you think you need to do? Because if you think you need it, then you make yourself a slave to it. Just, Leslie was even saying that, well, if you don't need the food anyway, the only reason you're eating it is because it's enjoyable to eat. So that was beneficial to me. And then him giving examples of how manifestation works. The having a wet mouth, that whole thing, and me manifesting that helps if you see it come to fruition. Something I was thinking about, because I mean, you could do 3 days of dry fasting but doubt the whole time, and you might have a different result. I wonder.
You will have a different result. In fact, I think that's only my answer. Maybe somebody else in here can see something else, but what I'm thinking is somebody who doubts and go through that process, before the end of the week, they'll say, screw that bull, I'm having a meal. And they will not continue with the process, and they will not let themselves die. Unless, I don't see why, and there will be a point where of breakup where they'll say, I don't believe it. So why am I doing this anyway? So, and then they're right. And was it Henry Ford who said, whether you believe that you can or that you can't, either way, you're right. So those who believe that they can't are right, and they will fail, unfortunately. Because they won't be interested in this thing. In the longer run, I think they'll just go on to something else.
I really
Does anybody else
appreciate
have an idea?
your, Yannick, I really appreciate your honesty. I actually have never come across this before because we all have spent a lot of money on this. And then to come out and say, well, you know, I don't think I needed to. Now, for myself, every workshop I've taken, I started my metaphysical training, serious training, when I was in my early 20s. My son was 1.5 years old. And so that's in the late 70s. And I started off with the sound, color, vibration course. And so I took spectral dynamics in the early 90s. So a lot of information I've already taken. I already have a good base of knowledge. It started a very long time ago. So every conference I go to, I have to go through and sit there patiently because most other people don't have that knowledge. And so these retreats, like it goes on, people are there, they're sitting there, they don't have their things around them. It's usually in some nice place like Sedona. And they have all this time to sit and do nothing. So I think a lot of this stuff is to fill in time for people on the course, right? And I myself would like to, because I know all this stuff already, I want to have a pared down approach like Yannick. I just want to get to the meat of it. Yes, I want my questions asked, technical questions like, you know, what about my throat, dry mouth? You know, how can you relieve some of these things? And so that are pertinent just to that. And I'm not into analysis really, you know, all that kind of stuff, because I've done so much of it. I did an intense 10 years, almost 20 years of intense self-analysis and energy work. And I just don't want to do that. I want to know what I'm here to do as far as this, you know, breatharianism. And like I said, I learned about breatharianism in the 80s. I read about it. I knew it was something I wanted to do. I felt that it was possible. So, yeah, I really appreciate what you've said, Yannick.
If we could, Connie had raised her hand a while ago and other people started talking, and now
Well,
I don't
sorry.
know. No, that's okay. I just want to be able to let her, give her that
Oye,
attention.
¿sabías que Michelle llega a la 1, verdad?
Okay. Connie, please.
Oh, thank you, Bobby.
Share.
I just wanted to say my big takeaway is that I need to practice going within and finding my answers instead of looking for a book or a course that's going to have the solution for me. And so, like some of you have said, I find that
Eric, you probably want to mute yourself, Eric.
You're again interrupting Connie, Eric. Please mute.
I just feel like a lot of the course, I tried to participate as much as I could, but I found the heavy emphasis on the mental aspect was kind of too much for me. And then even the part of the sharing circle, I liked the idea of hearing everybody's experiences and getting to know everybody in that way. But to me, they were too long and it was just too much for me. So, but overall, I'm glad I've gone through the process, but I'm going to practice the things that I know that work for me and keeping my vibration high. And for me, I think that's the most important. And then get my answers from within instead of seeking them outward.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for sharing.
Thank you. I appreciate that greatly, Connie. Thank you.
Oh, can I say one more thing, Bobby? I wanted to know
Please.
the name of that book that you mentioned about the Ho'oponopono. Or you mentioned a book,
Okay, it's called Zero Limits.
Zero Limit. Okay,
So
Thank you.
Zero Limits, and it goes into the whole story, and then there's a synopsis at the end of what the process is. Very fascinating, and again, it's so simple. The concept and everything about it is so simple, and I like things that are simple. To me, the easier it is, the more simple it is, the closer it is to the truth.
Mhm.
So Zero Limits.
Thank you.
Seems to be that way
You're
with spiritual teachers, doesn't it? They can deliver the truth in a line or an idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can I ask a question of the group? Whenever Leslie's talked about the ERA technique, she gave us a lot of information about it, but did she actually teach us the technique? Or did she just give, yeah, so we don't actually.
You
Yeah,
have
no,
to have a
the-
session with her in order to learn the technique. It is very
Yeah.
simple.
Yeah, I was wondering if I'd missed something because I thought that she'd referenced we might have had it or not had it. Yeah, okay. So she gave a broad outlines, but we didn't actually get the specific technique.
Right. Right.
Thank you.
Also, I want to say that I don't bring any energy into my system through the crown chakra, or the base chakra. I don't have a chakra system. The chakra system is a synthetic overlay. I bring the energy, I radiate the energy out from my upper heart center.
Mm.
And it knows exactly what to do and where to go in every situation with my body, anything. I don't have to do any of that. I don't know where this energy is coming in from the crown, but the upper heart center, that's my source. And it's then where I radiate it out in that toroidal, it comes from that center to nurture you. So I don't get in, to me, it's so much detail and, I don't know, doing this chakra thing system. I've done, I used to be part of they were called the oneness movement. And oh my God, and then the new age. Oh, well, now there's 145 centers, chakra centers, it just goes on and on and on, right? And I just could never get into it. Even when I was taking the sound color vibration course, I'm an artist, I love color. And I just thought, it's so much work, it's just so much detail. I just didn't think it was necessary. That, no, there's just one center that knows it all, knows what to do. And so that's what I use. And that's what and even in the breathing exercises, I'll use them to help with attention and things like that. They're good for that. But I know that the prana is not really coming. Who else said this? Somebody else in our group said this. It's not really coming from. It's not coming from the sun. It's not coming from the earth. It's not coming from the breath. It's coming from your own divine source, which is through that area. And if you go through that upper heart center, that's the balanced cross. That's the still point. If you've ever done any meditations where you go to the sun, you immediately, when you do it the first time you do it, you think, oh my God, it's going to be so hot and tumultuous and You go there and it is absolutely still. I have goosebumps thinking about it. It's the most incredible experience. It's where I feel completely, I'm at home. I'm home. And there's this subtle breathing in, sort of breathing out, but it is so quiet. It's so still. That is access through your upper heart center. You don't have to go up and down and around and, and including, because I asked this the other day, I says, well, do I receive the earth energies? Because it's very important to have grounding, to have your feet on the ground, and that really helps balance going for walks and hikes and things, right? And throughout this process and any conference that I'm at, I can't wait to get outside to possibly run outside, to be outside. And so I asked, am I bringing in the earth energies through my feet? Am I bringing in the sun energies through whatever? And my body and my higher presence told me no. The sun's energies, the earth energies come in through your upper heart center, as well as your divine soul source presence. So that's all you need. Oh, JJ said that. Yeah. So
Shay, I just want to say I'm completely agreeing with what you're saying, like 200%. I love what you just said right now, because you're touching on a very deep truth. The heart center is all there is. And the thing is, there is no one technique that fits all, because we're all different. And your approach and your way of processing energy is 100% valid, and you don't need the chakra system. So I actually love people that challenge the establishment, so to speak, meaning that, oh, we always process, oh, you have these chakra and you have to go through the column. Most of us do. But I thank you for sharing the fact that you operate differently, and I profoundly respect that. Thank you for sharing this with all of my heart.
It's interesting for, to understand that as a fetus develops, there's actually a neural network similar to, it's the brain that develops first as the heart is developing. The heart develops before the brain. And there's more communication coming from the heart to the brain than vice versa. The heart will continue beating even though the brain is dead. But when the heart dies, everything dies. So I call the heart the essence of our being, the very center core of our being, overriding everything. So what you're tuning into is what I call the essence of your being. So it's very true. I mean, that's to me, my core. Go ahead.
I'm going to say good night, guys. I'll catch you in a few hours.
Okay.
Ciao.
Good night.
Good night, crew.
And I'm signing off. You all be well.
Okay.
Thank you, Jane.
I'm heading out too. Appreciate everybody sharing. Thanks so much.
thank you. Have a
Thank you,
wonderful
Connie.
day. Good night.
Good
Good day.
Yeah, I just want to share with you that I had two terrible days, yesterday and a day before. So it's a blessing to drink water, but it's curious because I was longing so much for the water, and when I tasted, it didn't taste so well. So it's funny. But well, I think the hard part has passed.
Yeah, true.
Did you have bad days before, or was piece of cake for you?
For me, I had, especially yesterday, I couldn't sit still. I was very uncomfortable with whatever I was at. So it was just not excruciating pain, but not comfortable, like any position. As you saw me, I kept changing positions because I just wasn't comfortable.
Yeah, with me, I had a very, very hard rhythm in my heart. I also yesterday had anxiety attacks, which I never had. The only thing that helped me a lot was to stand up in the wet soil. The grounding was amazing for me, and it took everything off. But I had apathy towards everything. It was terrible. It was a torture. Actually, 2 days were like a month long. But, well,
Oh gosh.
yeah. And you, Yannick, piece of cake, because it's the third time you do it, right?
It gets easier, yes. But I think Shay kind of brought up an important point where everyone is different. Everybody learns different. Me, I'm a loner, and I will have to say I've been doing this process to this time the third time. This time was the most difficult. Because my pace and my rhythm is not compatible. But I'd like to add really a warm, heartfelt thank you to Ray Maor for the amazing. This is amazing. He's opening up our consciousness. I think this is the next evolutionary step for mankind. So I am deeply grateful towards all the organizer of this group. So sure, it was difficult. The dry fast is tough, but I think I'm going to leave this process with a deep sense of gratitude and thankfulness overall.
And you, Christina?
I felt weak. If you're asking about my experience, I mean, I felt very weak. My voice decided to try to disappear when I was silent. I didn't really do the silent day on the silent day. I did it yesterday because my boyfriend was here and then he wasn't here yesterday, so I was able to be silent. It's been cool to learn the different techniques I'm gonna try that technique that we did yesterday with Grace. I was feeling too weak to do it upright, so I'll try it again. Yeah.
How old are you, Christina?
I'm 38.
38. Oh, you look younger. Wow.
Thank you.
Yeah. And you, Bobby, how old are you?
I'm 68.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah, you have a lot of courage to do this. Is not the same when you are 20 than when you are in your 60s.
Well, I don't feel it was a bad experience. I feel, but you can see where my mind is at where what I've experienced over the years. Like I was a raw vegan for 4 years and then started traveling, so I went vegetarian. But my energy level was so high as a raw vegan, and it was just amazing how your body automatically detox with that. I mean, you don't have to do anything to detox when you only eat clean food. And I'm not talking about just munching on carrots. There are tremendous recipes that just absolutely are delicious. And I would cook meat for my husband, who was meat and potatoes. But it was just a tremendous experience to be in that high of vibration with just doing raw vegan for 4 or 5 years. So when they said a week of raw vegan, I thought, no big deal, just eliminate. So it wasn't really a big change for me. And I'd done other water fasts and I've done other things. And because of that, I knew I was capable of doing this without any issues.
Yeah, it's amazing. That helped you a lot to clean your body. That's why it was easy this time. And you,
Right.
Yannick, how old are you?
I'm 48.
48. And in which period of time you did your three processes?
Every year in January. So January 2021 and then January 2022. And the thing is,
Okay.
me, I was able to last about 6 weeks. And they brought up a really important point, and I'm really looking forward to it tomorrow when we address it, is that there's so much social pressure. You know,
Oh, God,
Easter comes
yes.
up and you say, oh, come for a meal. Not kidding, true story. My brother invited me to a family reunion. I'm like, but they're all gonna eat. And if I sit at the table and I say, I want a glass of water, what? So then I gave up to the pressure. I was like, oh, okay, I'll have a bite. But if anybody here has ever been a smoker and you have quit smoking, you can think that you can have just one cigarette and you're gonna be fine. My experience was that having one meal made me hungry. So then I'd say, oh, I'll just have another one. And guess what? Then I got more hungry. And the more
But
hungry.
at that time, you had the idea that you can be breatharian and eating twice a week or once a week without problem?
Zero times a week.
So this is new for you, that you can eat a little bit.
Yeah, see, now how I handled that with being a raw vegan, whenever there was family functions, I took what I was going to eat. And what was interesting was everybody else enjoyed it too. And for this, if I were to, okay, I'm a breatharian and it's only juice. So then I would freeze the juice and make it like a sorbet and eat the sorbet while everybody was eating. So they were thinking, oh, wow, she's eating something. So the social pressure is horrendous, but I've already overcome that. They already know I'm different, that I don't eat the same as everybody else. So I would take that juice and freeze it into what you would call sorbet and eat that and say, well, this is what I eat. And anyway, my people that I hang out with already know I'm different, so they don't expect anything from me at all. But if I was going to be in that circumstance and I wanted to be 100% with this, I would take my juice and freeze it and then eat it as a sorbet, and I'm eating with everybody, but on my terms. But they already know, like I said, everybody I hang with already know I'm different.
Do you live alone, Bobby?
I live alone now after my husband died. My husband died last year.
I would
Yeah,
love to leaf through your book collection, Bobby. Thank you.
Pardon me?
I would love to leaf through your book collection. I bet you have a lot of interesting books.
Yeah, well, like The Secret Language of Your Body, I have a lot of different things like that. Mostly about, how to promote health, and especially when others are dealing with stuff. Like when people have kids, the one that I give as a baby shower is, what is it? Medicine for a Healthier Child. And it goes through the regular medicine, it goes through acupressure points, it goes through homeopathic medicine, it goes through herbal medicine, it goes through Bach flower remedies. It gives you a gamut of choices. And it has been just phenomenal of finding that one that you don't have to use conventional medicine. So it does give that option of what the doctors would prescribe, but it also gives them choices of things. And people have told me that's the best gift they've gotten at their baby shower. So
where do you live, Bobby?
I live in Michigan.
And you, Yannick?
I'm in Ottawa, Canada.
In Canada.
Capital city.
And you, Christina?
New York City.
Oh, New York
yeah,
City.
you already told me. Yeah. Is there anyone else in the group? Oh, there is Connie. Hi, Connie. Where do you live, Connie?
I live in Michigan too, Detroit.
Oh, Michigan. Oh, great.
Yeah, we are about an hour away from each other. We might meet somewhere.
Sounds
Great.
good.
How old are you, Eric?
There are places that serve juice, Connie.
That would be
Eric,
fun.
Are you any of you is vaccinated?
So I work as a paramedic. In some countries, it's called EMTs. You know, if you have a car accident, you get hit by a car, or if you're at home having a heart attack, again, you call the emergency medical service where you get Yannick that pops at your door in a minute. So because of my job, it's mandatory. I was not given a choice. You either get vaccinated or get fired.
Wow. But you wanted to get vaccinated, or it was against your convictions?
Against 100%.
Wow, it's terrible. Yeah, the measures in Canada and in Australia are really, really terrible. Now I'm glad to live in Mexico because we are much more free than you.
Yeah. And actually, I've heard that Mexico is one of the best places to live now because they're so lax on requirements and people just live. And Mexico is self-sufficient. They don't need stuff from the outside world. They have all that they need in their own economy. So I think that's phenomenal. Phenomenal.
Yeah, well, you can say that, but we depend in many things from other countries also. Actually, the main plant here is the corn, but we import almost all the corn from United States. So,
Yeah.
and all the corn that we get is completely GMO.
Right.
So
Right.
you have to live in a special place. If you go to Quintana Roo or Yucatan, which is very flat, they don't grow anything. So they have to import from other states the food. And almost all the food we have is GMO. So if you want clean food, you have to go to certain towns or to have your own parcel and to grow your food. But now is a great time, and is one of my motivations to become breatharian, that almost all the food is poison now. Even the bananas, the apples, everything is poison. You go to eat to a nice restaurant, everything is poison for your body. Now, like 2 months ago, in South America, well, in different countries of South America, authorized, I don't remember the name of the chemical, but it's 15 times more poison than the other thing that they used to apply to the plants.
Glyphosate. It's glyphosate. Glyphosate.
No. Glyphosate was before. Now there is another stuff that is 15 times more dangerous than the glyphosate. So it's amazing. Now you can't eat pizza outside because it's really poison for your brain. And I'm dedicated to the medicine, and what I have seen with vaccinated people is amazing. I have more than 60 patients with Dimero D. Well, in English, I don't know, that Dimerus D, which is a coagulation factor. More than 60 persons that I know personally have this Dimero D up. So it means that they can create, sorry, Yannick, but they can create coagulos, like blood clotters that can go to the brain, to the heart, and it's really, really terrible. I recommend, Yannick, that if you have all the shots, you go and check your coagulation factors because you could be in danger. Well.
So that's one question that I've thought about, you know, as far as this process, because I think that because we are exposed to chemicals everywhere in the environment, and you really can't get away from it. I mean, it's, you know, if you use tap water, even if you're filtering it, you know, there's pharmaceuticals there. Glyphosate is in the rain. So living in our modern society, I believe that we need to help our bodies to be able to detoxify, even if we're breatharian. I think there still needs to be some assistance that we can give the body to be able to detoxify these chemicals that are not natural to the body. They're foreign, you know, so, and the body wasn't designed to be able to accommodate these toxins. That's just my point of view.
It's I agree, Tony, I agree.
Yeah, I don't know if you have heard of chlorine dioxide, because chlorine dioxide, because I have helped more than 2,000 people get cured from COVID disease with this stuff. And I'm not the only one. There are more than 8,000 doctors all over the world with different specialties that use this substance that is really, really simple to prepare in your home, and it can heal you. It is said that if most people know this product, 80% of the pharmaceutical drugs will go away completely. That's why they are trying to I don't know, to defamate, or I don't know if that word exists.
Yeah.
Yeah, to
Oh.
defamate this product, so we don't be able to detoxify our bodies and even to heal from many diseases. But I can share with you that I've seen arthritis, I've seen that diabetes, fibromyalgia, and many illnesses that get cured with this substance. So, well, if you don't know it, I can send you the information of the best investigator of this product. Of course, if you go to a regular doctor, they are going to say that this is poison, but we have different patents. We have the toxicological proofs, and it is said that to get toxified with this product, you have to drink an amazing amount that is impossible. So, and like this product, we have zeolite and different minerals that help to detoxify the body. Actually, it's important that if any of you get vaccinated, to get rid of this stuff with different options that we have.
Are you able to, Grace sent an email list of all of us. Could you email that information to the people that are here and maybe bring it up again?
You mean in the WhatsApp group?
No, I'm not in the WhatsApp group. I have a very old phone that doesn't like apps. So it works just fine. As soon as I put an app on it, it starts acting up and won't work properly. So no, in one of the emails that Grace sent us, she gave everybody's email address.
Okay.
So it's like in the first email that she sent us to, if we wanted to connect via email, would you be able to email us that information, or at least email me? You can put it in the WhatsApp group for everybody else, but email me the information. And I see Yannick pointing to him as well. Okay, Connie. Yeah, if you could, email us that information, I would really appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, of course, I send it all the information to you. And after this course, if you have any question about anything that I could be of help, please ask me completely free of charge. And yeah, actually, if I have helped more than 2,000 people get rid of COVID, it's because I don't charge. This is a war towards us, and we have to be able to help the people.
Right.
So yeah, and actually, if any one of you come to Mexico, please call me.
Where at in Mexico are you?
I'm in Oaxaca. It's one of the best places you can visit. It's the second tourist place because in Mexico, because it's so beautiful. I live in the mountains, like half an hour away from the city, from Oaxaca city. And it's an amazing town. Now in this season we have full of mountains and green, and everybody that comes to Oaxaca love Oaxaca.
I was in Tulum earlier this year. It was beautiful, and we toured a lot of the Yucatan, and I loved Coba. Coba was just so unique. But yes, you may get a visitor in the next year.
Yeah, sure, of course. Now I'm building a house. Even if I have space, you can stay with me. But I'm building my house now, so I'm working a lot for that. And yeah, Tulum is beautiful, and the Caribbean is amazing. But it has an energy of tourism, of like things that I don't like. It is not like the essence of Mexico. It seems like an American city or so.
Right.
So, but
I felt
Oaxaca is
that.
completely different. In Oaxaca, you really feel in Mexico.
Oh, okay. I'd love that. I would love that.
Yeah, yeah. You can check images in Google. Yeah, there's Oaxaca. Yeah.
It's like
Okay, cool.
southern Mexico.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. And in Oaxaca, we have all the environments. We have mountains, we have coast, we have nice beaches. Everything is here. You don't have to go anywhere. But
Still
well,
here, I'm listening. I just had to change. I was going to suntan, but I couldn't tear myself away. The conversation has been so good.
Welcome
I
back.
am interested in relocating somewhere, and I'm thinking Mexico, but where? So maybe.
you can check in Google Images, put Oaxaca, and you're gonna find a lot of places there, nice places. Yeah.
So it's spelled Huaco. Oaxaca.
OAXACO, yeah, Oaxaca.
The A at the end.
With an X, yeah. OAX, yeah, Oaxaca.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
I love the mountains. I'm
Oh,
from
yeah.
Calgary, Alberta, so I love the mountains. I like being up high with a view, and so.
I was saying that if any of you come to Oaxaca, please give me a call if you want to see me, and I can show you some places and give you some recommendations. And if my house is ready by then, of course you are invited to stay with me.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And I agree with the chlorine dioxide. It's awesome. I haven't
it's
made
really
any.
awesome.
I haven't made any yet, but yeah, it's very, very good.
Yeah, I've been using chlorine dioxide since 12 years ago. So I have a lot of experience with the product. I have tried all the protocols. And if I could tell you some experiences, you wouldn't believe me. You wouldn't believe me at all.
Let's hear
Actually,
it.
YouTube was full of stories, were thousands of stories, testimonials from people who get cured with this product. In 2019, the satanic sects that govern this world erased all the testimonies. Imagine that in a judgment, with your own word, they can put in jail to some person. But these guys take off your testimonies when you are giving it free of anything, free of. So it's really, really terrible. So the only information you will find in YouTube are negative things about the product, which they don't have sustain at all. But we have a lot of sustain in many other aspects if you want to investigate more.
Now you're talking MMS, what is also referred to as miracle mineral supplement, which is chlorine dioxide. Okay.
Yeah, and after that they changed the name by Master Mineral Solution because miracle sounded very terrible, and they changed that. But the MMS is the grandfather. Now we have CDS, which means chlorine dioxide solution. It's a new formula that Andreas Kalker, a German guy, invented that you can prepare in your house, and I tell you how if you have the components. And this is much better because you don't have the negative effects that the MMS had. So it's pure chlorine dioxide at 3,000 ppm particles per million.
Mm-hmm.
And this is really amazing, and that this is the liquid that we are using now. It's so simple. You just dilute it in water, certain milliliters, and actually, Yannick, since you are dedicated to heal people, the cutaneous people protocol is really amazing. I've seen in dogs, in people, in every animal that I encounter that I could help. I've seen abscesses. I don't know if that's the right word. Abscess full of pus, of this white stuff, like this size, like 3 baseball balls. you just put this spray once, and in 3 hours it emerges all the pus completely. It's really, really amazing. So if you have a wound or whatever, this is amazing. It's the best thing. Actually, they use this substance to clean the bags where they put the blood. So in this way, you can imagine that it's not bad for our health, because they use it in the bags of blood where they use for transfusions. And there, it has many uses. I send you the information because it's something that everyone should know.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
And if you want information about how to clean your body, not only from chemicals, but cleansings like the hepatic cleansing. I know one amazing cleansing that is called intestinal rope. It is called like that because most people throw a rope 1 meter, since 1 meter to 7 meters long. And this is a material like plastic that is inside our body, that is created by gluten, by meat, by every stuff you have eaten in your life. Actually, before this process, I made this cleansing, and it's amazing what you throw. And of course, you don't throw the 7 meters in 1 day. You throw small pieces, but if you count all the length, it's amazing. It's all your small intestine long.
I really want to hear more about this.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. Yeah, me too.
Yeah, of course. I send
I
you all the
mean-
information. Yeah.
The saltwater flush, to me, it just flushes through the food stuff that's in your digestive tract.
Yeah, but
It
you
doesn't,
can't believe
I don't
that-
think it
wow.
cleans out toxins like chlorine dioxide does, or this other, yeah. And other things like DMSO and turpentine and it's various things, right?
Well, thank you for everybody for staying. I'm going to check out for a while. We will see you later.
Okay.
Bobby.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Bobby.
Bobby. Thanks, Bobby.
Welcome. You're very welcome.
Yannick, would you say that your line of work has, I would imagine that you've had people die in your watch. Would you say that like that your exposure to this has, I think I saw like in your, it seems like you're into like ghost stuff and like paranormal. Has your line of work like brought out this interest, or no?
My interest was there before my line of work, but I don't talk about ghosts and spirit with my coworkers for sure. But so I don't know if I understood your question.
I don't know. I guess I'm just looking at the correlation of your work,
Oh.
your interests.
I will say this, is that anytime I go to a call for a person in cardiac arrest and we end up not resuscitating them and they die, I am very careful about what I say because I know they're still around, and I will, as much as possible, try to say something had a spiritual touch, because most paramedics are like, all right, he's dead, we're ready, sign here, and we're ready for the next call because it's a busy line of work. But as where I will say, you know what, if I have to have a blanket that I put over the dead body, I will ask or will want to know the name of that person. I will say the name out loud. I will take a moment of silence before covering them with a sheet or a blanket, because I am absolutely certain that they're just around me. They see this, they know this. So I guess my level of respect will notch up simply because my belief is they're still around. They can see me, they can hear me. So if I say, oh, well, he's dead. Oh, well, blah, blah, blah. So how's your day? And blah, blah, blah. And just moving on directly to, go back to, we need to produce, we need to be efficient. There's so many calls, we're overworked in terms of like how many people call the ambulance for the silliest thing. I've had people calling that because they had a paper cut and they're like, give me a Band-Aid. And while you need a Band-Aid, somebody else is having a heart attack and I'm not able to go there. So what I'm trying to say here is that most paramedics do not really have that spiritual approach to any dead bodies. They don't care. It's job. So, oh, you're dead? Well, then my job here is done. Here's the blanket and I'm ready to leave. I have to sign the report of death and this and that. But no, so the correlation between me being really enthralled with the spirit world and ghosts and all that jazz is that I really believe in this. And I even have some paranormal stories about at work where I basically sense a ghost in the house. And then there was a series of paranormal events. Like the people I work with that day, we still talk about this. There were so many weird things that happened, but I felt it. It was like, as soon as I walked in, I was like, huh, there's a spirit in here. And I could tell, it's like, oh, it's in the living room. Oh my God, I feel it. Of course, I cannot verbalize it or voice it out. Trust me, if I'm at work and I start saying, oh, I sense a spirit in the building, they're going to look at me and say, man, get a grip, come back to reality, because they don't want to hear about that. But yeah, it's very real. They're out there. Absolutely.
Sure.
I've seen them. I've done like the ghost box thing. If you're familiar with this, where you can communicate with spirits, I would ask questions and they would answer me. It was, at first it was eerie until it's eerie no more. After you've done this so many times, you're like, okay, it's real. I'm convinced, and I realized, because I actually used to be a teacher before being a paramedic. So I'm very comfortable in front of a crowd and talking to people. But I would say this is I have given some what I call paranormal workshops. And I realized that if somebody does not believe in ghosts, there is nothing you can tell them that will change their mind, period. So I've completely stopped trying to even talk about it or bring it up. So those who believe don't need proof. And those who don't believe will never have enough proof. So I'm out of that game. If you don't believe, I'm perfectly at peace with that.
So currently I'm practicing Buddhism, and they believe that Buddhists believe that your whole life you're basically prepared, like the most important point in your life is when you die, because that point is going to, what state of mind you are in that moment is going to dictate your next rebirth. So as peaceful as you can help these people to be, which it sounds like you are. You sounds like you're very respectful of that moment. That it's very important, obviously, for them in their future lives. So.
Speaking of Buddhism, have you ever tried Vipassana?
Asana?
Do you know what Vipassana is?
Is that breathing, or what is that?
I find it interesting because we did talk during the week that, oh, we're doing a Vipassana day. But if you've never been to Vipassana, you won't even know what we're talking about. So I can tell you, and just shortly and briefly, it's a Buddhic. I call it Buddhic because I've been there and they talk about Buddha the whole time, and it's a religious retreat. It's not religious. I'll take that back. It's a retreat where you spend like 10 days in silence and you meditate all day. And it's, believe it or not, this is important. It's free of charge. You only pay what you believe it's worth at the end before leaving. So you don't feel like, oh, I paid for this thing. You don't pay for anything. You can go for free. So look it up online if you want. I'm sure it's all over the world. They have it, in the US, in Canada, Europe, Asia, and it's worth it. It will change your perspective on many things. And the silence, the meditation, and and I have to say one thing is that it's a very difficult process, because trust me, to spend 10 days in silence, really? If you're not used to this, you just want to like, ah. But by the end, day 11, the last time when you leave, there's a profound lesson. I can tell you, but you have to do it like experientially. You have to live it for yourself. But in a nutshell, it says that nothing outside of you can irritate you. And they prove it because they irritate you for 10 days of sort. Maybe that was my experience. I don't know about other people, but they irritate you and they say, you have a feeling in your body when something irks you, you feel it somewhere in your body somehow, and you're reacting not to what's irritating you, but you're reacting to what you feel. And that whatever feeling that comes up, it may be frustration, anger, and whatnot. But what they're teaching is that you're only responding to the way you feel. And if you're able to observe the way you feel without reacting, you realize that no one outside of yourself has the ability to ever frustrate you ever again in this lifetime. And I was like, wow, what an incredible experience. And I will say this is when I left Vipassana the first time, I went on the highway and somebody arrived behind me and those crazy driver that usually would irk me. And then I was in such a state of peace. And I was like, everything is impermanent. So every discomfort you feel is impermanent. And they teach you that. They don't teach you that. They make you live it. So you experience it for yourself. So you live at extreme discomfort, and every discomfort is impermanent. So that crazy driver goes, ah, and I'm looking at him and I feel it and I can identify and I can take a breath and just observe. And the experience was impermanent because a minute later, he was out of my sight. I didn't know where he was. And I was like, wow, it works. That guy, the older Yannick 11 days ago would have gone like, burp, burp, like, burp, burp. That's where now, 11 days later, well, the process is 10 days, but after, I was like, that sense of peace. It's amazing because everything that irritates us, we're responding to the way we feel, not to anything that is outside of us. So that was, listen, Christina, if you have the ability or the time or the opportunity to spend 10 of your days to book a free 10-day retreat, your house, you have a bed, they feed you for free. So it's worth it.
I'd do that for sure. Yeah.
My friend did it. I know it's nearby. I know I could do it if I wanted to. Thank you. I'll check it out.
Sorry, guys. I just want to say goodbye because my phone ran out of battery. That's why it cut it like that. And now I have like 3%. So I'm leaving. Was nice to talk with you.
Nice talking.
Bye, Eric.
Bye-bye.
Look forward to your email with information.
Yes, of course. We stay in touch.
Sounds good.
All right, I think I'm pretty much ready to leave as well. I don't know about you
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah, definitely.
A pure delight to speak with you guys.
Nice talking
Truly.
to you.
Thanks, Anna.
Thank you, Yannick.
Yannick. Thanks, Christina.
Thank you.
I'll
See you tomorrow.
tonight or
Or
the next
tonight.
meeting.
Yeah, in the next meeting.
Take care.